following is a test of the emergency podcast system. This is only a test. If this had been a real emergency, you'd have been instructed to change your pants and turn on the podcast known as
Trapped Under Plastic, the podcast where we struggle snuggle. I love that.
Yeah, you don't want to struggle snuggle with me when I'm letting out the wet juicy ones.
Yeah, dude. What, can we get some kind of primer on what the fuck that was about?
So we had tornado warnings in our house.
Oh yeah,
area
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday, and so it reminded me. So you get the world is ending notification on your phone. You ever gotten one of those? Scares the shit out of you.
Yep.
So my dog's downstairs in the basement with me. I'm still editing the fucking video, like trying to frantically edit before the power goes out. Luckily the power didn't go out. Nice. My daughter comes downstairs. She brings the cats downstairs. She brings down like enough snacks for us to survive for like fucking 4 months. I don't know. We had that many snacks in our house.
Yes.
And she brought all these things to do or whatever, and she's down there for 45 minutes. But that made me think. Like, oh, remember the old on the radio emergency broadcast things?
Yep.
And that's how we got to wet farts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But instead of wet farts on the radio, they'd make that horrendous sound where it's like, yeah, and then we get like shorter and shorter and shorter, and like this is an emergency broadcast. And then the candles come out.
Yeah, you gotta get the candles out. You gotta get out all the flashlights. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna get down there. You know,
what a vibe. You know, I only remember as a kid being like hyped when that happened. But like certain death is around the corner, but I'm like excited because we're like making pillow forts in the basement.
Exactly. I was just gonna ask you, did you guys do pillow forts?
Absolutely.
When that happened? Every damn time. I would like grab all the fucking couch cushions and bring them down to the basement.
Your dad's like, John, we're gonna die, and you're like, dude.
Yeah, but look at this. I got like 4 rooms in a secret tunnel. Yeah. You know, it goes behind the couch, and it's freaking great. Yeah, blankets over the top. Come on.
Yeah. I love it.
Oh, man. So the last episode where we had Vincey V on, we actually had to record like a week early because that's when Vince had to be here. Mm-hmm. So it's been like 3 weeks.
It's been. Sorry, I have to. I heard it. I heard the 2 words and it was magical.
And then the Canadian gods, known as the Bare Naked Ladies, showed up into the studio.
Yeah, they're like fucking. Oh shoot, what's that horror movie with the Candyman?
Oh yeah,
he shows up. Yeah. I forget
his name 2 times in the
mirror. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. And chickadee China, the Chinese chicken.
And they all show up behind you.
The one dude, he's got like a stand-up bass. He's trying to get through the door. Speaking of, I'm going to start on the end of mine because I said all that shit to say we've got a lot of Preamble Ramble.
We have a lot.
We have a lot of things to talk about.
Strap in.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ride. Because you talked about Candyman. I've been going through on Hulu as I've been sitting painting. I gotten on a horror movie kick.
Hell yeah.
Most of them are bad, but like movies that I hadn't seen that I was like, ooh, I want to see, and it's on Hulu right now. So I'm gonna paint this orc vehicle while watching Longlegs. I hadn't seen Longlegs.
How do you do that? How do you watch a movie while painting?
There's certain kind of movies.
The answer is he doesn't.
Yeah.
He just listens to it for 80% of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I either am not as productive in painting because I'm always looking up if it's a good movie.
Right.
And Longlegs was that. Or it's a movie I'd seen before, like I rewatched Independence Day.
Okay.
For like the 5th time, and you can just listen to it. There are certain kinds of movies that it works well for.
Yeah, rewatching, totally get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
And there's certain kinds of movies, like certain genres work better than others.
Oh, okay, what's that? There's a movie, there's a video idea. Top genres to watch while painting minis. Okay, no, that's awful. But what's your top genre?
Actually, it's crime dramas.
Oh.
Some kind of like heavy, serious dramas. Or I watched like Gone Girl. That was a fucking heavy movie. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, very heavy. You watched that while painting?
Yeah, I watched it while painting. That was like, fuck, dude. So you really appreciate, because it's almost like it's like Daredevil, right? Because he can't see, all of his other senses are stronger. So like I appreciate the dialogue more. And
Okay.
Like listening to the interacting and actually the acting itself. I feel like I have a little bit more like cringy moments where I'm like, ee.
Oh, Craig, because you're more honed in on like their delivery of the lines.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
How believable it is.
Yeah, and in that scene and in the like, what is the emotional impact of what are they doing, what are they feeling right now, and then like, and then Danny McBride's is something random, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is exactly that's it. Horror movies in general not so good.
Right. A lot of visual elements in horror movies often.
But Longlegs was an exception because it's fucking freaky. That movie, if you haven't seen it, I think it's closer to something like a more macabre Silence of the Lambs. Like Silence of the Lambs, a little bit Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the kind of the feel of the nastiness of the environment, but it's more like a suspense thriller, I think, than a horror movie, and a little bit of Seven kind of vibes to it. But it still does fit into horror, but it's not a jump scare movie. It's more of a tension rising movie, right? And I really liked it.
Yeah. Interesting things about Longlegs, the director. I think his name is I forget his first name. His last name is Osborne. He is the son of the actor who played the killer in Psycho. Original Psycho. So they got horror running through their family for sure. I saw Longlegs, and that movie opens up in such an amazing way with this like paranormal detective who can just sense like where a murder is happening. Mm-hmm. But then I kind of feel like they don't use the paranormal element of that detective anymore in the rest of the movie, at least not in a significant way. And it kind of like devolves into this typical like crime horror movie. And I wanted more of that. I wanted more of this, like she is able to, I don't know, like peer into her third eye to like see like where certain things are happening. I wanted more of that. And I kind of felt a little let down that there wasn't more of it.
I agree. I felt like it was... It started off so strong, and it kind of fizzled by the end, and it was like trying to right the ship at the very end, trying to pull up on the stick to kind of pull these loose ends together. But the problem was like the middle 50%, it was gone, so it was so hard to pull out of that nosedive.
Yeah, but very spooky imagery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's also important for horror movies, that your visuals need to actually be kind of terrifying or horrific in at least some way, and they do deliver on that.
Yeah, and that stuff, oh, yeah, dude, the Nick Cage, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that was like every time, and that's why I did not get a lot of painting done when I was watching that, because I ended up like looking up and just like staring at the screen for 90 seconds. I'm like, fuck. But I think I need to rewatch it too, because re-listen, because I think that I probably won't like it as much the second time, but I want to like try to see if there was more things I wasn't following with her kind of. I don't even say that like she was like a psychic or anything, but like what her being in tune with this kind of a thing. Like, is there more that I just missed, or is it really kind of shallow?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. It's so funny. We could talk about this for a really long time, but we got to move on. I have a very, very fun collaboration with Jordan Cuffey, the talented sculptor from Skullforge, and also Humble Bundle right now. We brought a collection of Jordan's sculpts to you in a bundle called Miniac's Intergalactic Bundle of STLs or something like that. And so down in the description, there is a link to a bundle of maybe like 30 or 40 STLs, all sci-fi, all beautiful, kind of like generic, like NPCs or even player characters that you could use, or just fun models to paint. Like, these are the kind of models that, actually are in a category I'm going to bring up later in the podcast, but are just one-off minis that I just love to paint in these 2-hour sessions, 3-hour sessions. They're not drowning in details. They're very tastefully sculpted, and they're awesome. So they're cheap too right now, so you can get a bunch of them in a big package, kind of pay what you want, and a portion of it goes toward charity as well. So you can support Jordan, you can support me, you can support charity at the same time, and also get a bunch of amazing sci-fi models, all linked down in the description below.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You got to keep that legally distinct enough that the giant known as Disney stays the fuck away from you.
Yeah.
You do not want them on your back.
Yeah. They're all nicely, nothing too specific. I think they're great.
But they fit really well. I looked at them closely with my unscrupulous eyes.
Unscrupulous. Did you buy it?
That's not the right adjectives. It's open in a tab at home. So like I'm like You've checked the hardest box.
It stayed open.
Yeah, it stayed open in the tab. It's in my tabs of things I want to buy, and I think I'm gonna pull the trigger this afternoon. Yeah, because I was thinking like there's a variety of different games actually leading into what I was going to talk about next of of RPG games that I think that they would actually really work for that aren't strictly pure sci-fi.
Okay, maybe like near future stuff.
Yeah, or like there's some aspects of some near future, some aspects of like modern times. But just even they have a bit of like that fantasy sci-fi world that's like the space opera, Star Warsy kind of thing, where they're flexible.
Okay, kind of like Space Wizard and Space Witch kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
And that kind of my lead in there is I've been over the last week I've become obsessed with this book series, and if you know, you know, it's called Dungeon Crawler Carl.
God, that sounds exactly like a fucking thing that you would read. Dungeon Crawler Carl.
It is it's a page turner. It is a book where it's like you sit down and you're like, even if you're not a reader, like you sit down and you're like, oh, I just got to keep reading. I got to keep reading, and you feel weird because they're like, oh, what am I doing sitting here reading a book?
That's what I sound like.
It is for people that you don't want to get sucked into the heavy, drawn out, slow moving stories of oftentimes in sci-fi and fantasy books. It is just it is action. It is fun. The best way I can describe it is, I thought about this long and hard because it's a really hard book to describe what it is. The premise is aliens go around the multiple galaxies and they mine planets for their minerals. Okay? Earth is on the docket.
What do we got? Oil.
The problem is the rare minerals and deposits, and I don't fucking know exactly. I don't know if they explained it yet. But when they're going around the galaxies to do this, they realize that they actually, per planet, don't get a ton of what they need. So what they need to do is find another way to make money off of these endeavors. So they basically make a TV show off of the destroying of your planet.
It's propaganda.
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's like these billions of viewers. So in a way, it's kind of like the Hunger Games, where you have these people in power that are watching a TV show of this brutal thing.
Oh, so they're making entertainment of it
Yes.
for their own civilization.
Correct.
Okay, I had it wrong then. Okay.
Correct.
Got you.
But instead of it being an arena where you're all fighting to the death, it's a massive 18-floor dungeon that goes under the ground.
Like the planet, like, is it imploding because it's like cores being removed, some shit like that?
Well, at the start of the book, all of the surface of the Earth is squished.
Okay.
Like every building, everything is squished, so it's an entirely perfectly flat circle. And if you were inside when that moment happens, you're squished.
Inside the Earth.
You're inside a building.
Oh, anything with a roof.
Yes. It squishes you. You're dead. So if you happen to be outside, then they send this message that basically there's some like AI stuff, like you have a computer screen where it like goes across your vision, and it's like you have so much time to get to a stairway before they're closed forever.
Okay, you hear that, nerds? Touch grass.
Touch grass, yes. So it is fucking crazy. It is bloody as fuck.
Okay.
It is brutal. It's so gripping, and it's funny as shit. It's got this kind of humor that feels very similar to the Borderlands video games. If you ever played the Borderlands games,
I haven't, but I can imagine it though.
It doesn't take itself too seriously.
A little crass.
Yeah, a little crass. It's a lot of pop culture references too.
Okay.
And it's basically he's playing an MMO. It's written like he finds out he's got like skills, and he gets magic items and stuff. And he's got to level up.
Okay.
And then when he gets to level 3, I'm not to this part in the book. When he gets to level 3 in the dungeon, if he lives that long, he'll be able to pick a class in a race. So he can change his race. He can pick which class he's going to be. He gets all these skill ups. He gets loot boxes. It's a big thing about doing these. He's like, oh, you've got, there's achievements. He gets by getting this achievement, he gets a certain funny skill up, and everything has like flavor text that's like hilarious and stuff. So it is an MMO fantasy Hunger Games Borderland book.
Okay.
And there's 8 in the series, I believe.
Okay.
In a week, I'm almost done with the first book. I'm almost done with like the 450-page book. 'Cause I'll just sit after supper and I'll just sit and read because it's so good. But anyway,
yeah,
that one, I say that because my buddy Blair is the one that got me into reading this because he backed I think it was a Kickstarter, it might have been GameFound, I'm not sure exactly where it was, for the RPG of this game, or this book series. There's an RPG for it, tabletop RPG.
Okay.
So I'm starting reading it, and I'm like, oh, some of those models in your Humble Bundle, there's some weird fucking shit down there in those dungeons and stuff.
Yeah, they like some more creature minis in the Humble Bundle too. Like, yeah. Speaking of long-winded sci-fi books, I'm about halfway through God Emperor of Dune.
Woo.
Yeah.
Heavy.
I mean, I'm loving it, but man, there's a lot of stuff where it's just giant worm god man talking to himself, and it's like, holy shit, dude, I can't follow anything he's saying.
Yeah, that can be heavy. But aren't you playing a video game of Dune right now?
I am.
Is it an MMO?
Yeah, it's actually, when you're describing this book, you're basically describing my life for like the last 2.5 weeks. Man, I'll tell you what, I have not been addicted to a video game like this in a very long time. It feels like I just started playing WoW.
Oh man, that feeling, that crack addict, you're just like, I just need one more hit.
Which is not a feeling that I've had since playing WoW.
Yeah.
You know, like a super addictive game. The closest thing is Hades, but like Hades is not like, you can't play that game for, well, I guess you can, but it gets a little dull, like for 100 hours or more. You know, like an MMO just has like endless content for you.
Is it because, I wondered this too, because I have that exact same addiction to MMOs, and I don't get that in any other video game experience.
Yeah.
Even a game that's being played on the internet with other players, like a Dota or like an FPS game, that kind of thing. Like, I don't have that. Obviously, with a single-player game, with something like Hades, it's like, I can put it down, and then I can start back up, and nothing will have changed. Is it the MMO, the feeling that there's just other players at all times, they're doing stuff, they're advancing, and I wanna stay, not really keeping up with the Joneses, but just like, it does something that is really addictive.
I mean, that definitely is a motivating force for some people. Like, I don't know if you remember back in the day of like the High Warlord grind and Vanilla WoW.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that was definitely in keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, that was like, they tapped into it and like put it in your face for that.
Yeah.
But even before that with Vanilla WoW, like before Battlegrounds even opened, it was just like,
well, that's before Battlegrounds. Oh no, that was Battlegrounds. You're right.
Yeah, that was the first Battlegrounds.
Fucking, oh man, what was that one Battleground called? That was like the massive winter one, winter something.
I can remember Arathi Basin.
Yeah, AB. Yeah,
I can't-
Warsong Gulch was the capture the flag one, but there was the big one that was like a 40 on 40, and it was
just a giant clusterfuck.
It was a giant clusterfuck.
It was just like, stay by. I played a druid, so it was mostly just like a run around in cat form and find the fucking warriors and try to keep them up and then root some people so the warrior would not get overwhelmed. It's just a shit show.
Oh my god. Anyways, Dune Awakening, new video game by Funcom. Funcom also made the Conan the Barbarian MMO.
Oh shit, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, but they've had a lot of games. From what I understand, Dune Awakening has been their most successful game. In the opening week, sold 1 million copies. And I was one of those million. And man, it is so much fun. The creators really got it right. So it takes place in an alternate Dune universe where Dr. Yue was not successful in his treachery. Jessica caught him. The Atreides line is still alive and on Arrakis in Arrakeen, but so are the Harkonnens, and like they're battling over Arrakis like constantly. And so part of the game has you pick a side, Harkonnen or Atreides, and you go through a quest line that awards the typical gear in Solari, like money and XP, but also it awards you reputation in the clan. And the higher your rep, the more stuff you can get. You can get skins for your gear. You can get skins for your fucking ornithopters, for your buggies, for your sand bikes. The higher you get, the cooler shit you can get. And it's a survival game. Have you played a lot of survival games?
A little bit, but not much. I watch them on Twitch.
Okay, yeah.
Does that count?
I mean, yeah, you get the idea of it.
Yeah.
So it works really well for Arrakis because Arrakis is such a harsh climate.
Sure.
So you can't be in the sun for very long, otherwise you get heat stroke and your moisture levels go down. You can't walk in open sand for too long or have a shield on in the middle of the desert because Shai Hulud comes and fucking eats you. And if he eats you, if you die to the worm or if you die to a Coriolis storm, which they show up in your sector and you get a warning about it, but if you die to either one of those two natural causes, you lose everything on you.
Oh, fuck.
You respawn as a naked babe.
No.
Yeah, so if you had a base with stuff in it, you don't lose that. But like if you were like out getting materials, or if you were in a dungeon, you got some sick recipes, and you fucking come out and you get eaten by Shai Hulud because you got a little too loose and goose. What the fuck? Anyways, you lose all of that shit. Dude. So it's savage. It's savage. But like they really got the Dune universe right. Like even though it's an alternative history. And like there is no Paul Atreides. Jessica had a daughter, like she was supposed to have a daughter. So there's no Kwisatz Haderach. There's none of that. The Fremen are missing completely from Arrakis. Part of the quest line is to find where they are and what happened to them. And
that feels really smart, though.
It is like it's different.
Feels like you're taking the most dramatic, identifiable part of those stories and tweaking it to make it work with the kind of game you want to make.
It is, yeah. And so like there's this whole war of assassins going on in Arrakis that is like more of a war of like treachery and spycraft than it is just all out like warfare.
Can you be an assassin?
You can be a Mentat, and one of the trees is assassin.
Okay, I want to play this game.
Yeah, I'm a Bene Gesserit. You can pick what planet you come from, whether it's Khaitan or Gidi Prime or Caladan. So, and you can pick if you were a noble or a working class citizen, and like, so it's just steeped in such hardcore Dune, and I love it. I fucking love it. And like, I'm not even a big survival person. Like, I don't like when I stop and think about what the fuck I'm doing. I'm essentially virtually laboring, Yeah, I'm like mining rocks and shit. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why is this enjoyable? And it's like, so I can get the next tier of gear. I can get my new still suit, get my next scout like set of armor, my new dagger. Because like as a Bene Gesserit, you have like knife attributes that make your knife damage higher and shit. And you can be a sword master, and it's just like, man.
Is your character named Benny G?
No.
Because that would be a great name.
I have some like in-universe name because basically the way I'm playing this game. Exactly.
It's hard to spell, but it sounds cool.
You ever played SWTOR?
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah.
So one thing that's great about that game is that it almost feels like a single-player game because it has such amazing quest lines.
Yeah.
This game has that.
Oh.
So I haven't done virtually any kind of interacting with other people because I'm just playing my quest lines because they're just so enjoyable. That being said, there are areas in the opening area called Haga Basin. They're called shipwrecks, where a ship came and fell down, and there's a bunch of awesome loot inside of them. And those areas are PvP. And for the first time ever, last night, I was flying out to get some jasmium. And I saw a motherfucker land down his ornithopter, which is like a thing you get later on. I have my ornithopter as well. So I was flying. I saw him land right by a shipwreck, and I did a fucking 180. And I came around and landed behind, and I saw that guy. He was looting boxes in the shipwreck, and I fucking annihilated him.
Shivved him right through
And then I took all of his gear and then flew away. So that is the only PvP I've done so far. But
how much was your heart racing?
Oh my God, it was racing so much. I was so excited. But the whole end game of Dune, which is, people love it or hate it right now in its current implementation, is all PvP. So if you want to get the latest and greatest gear, you have to travel out into the deep desert. And that whole huge desert has ecological testing stations, has more shipwrecks, has like spice explosions where you can put a crawler down to harvest, and it's all PvP.
Just snort that stuff.
Yeah. So game's fucking great. I love it. Even if the end game wasn't good, it's still like 150 hours of wonderful single player content. highly recommend.
And sometimes it is more often than not that the end game isn't fully fleshed out and what their full vision of what the end is going to be is not available at launch because these are such heavy lifts as games.
Yeah.
To get off the ground, you have to like get them off before the ship's fully built. Like, otherwise, you're just bleeding money, and they got to get the cash flow incoming. So I don't fault them or any company that needs to do that. That's a good transition. Something I didn't have in the fucking Preamble Ramble, but I'm gonna talk about.
Oh no!
Is this weekend talking about MMOs? This weekend there's an open beta for Monsters and Memories, which after we have lunch today, I'm going home and I'm playing all night.
Friday MMO.
It's MMO night, baby. Yeah, and this is old school. There is no doing it by yourself. This is like old school EverQuest, in where it's like once you're about level 4 or 5, like. You gotta make friends, buddies, or you're not gonna make it very far. And it's very much reliant upon and pushed in the community aspect of old school MMOs. Of it feels super alive with all the other players. It's very crunchy in all the spells and the abilities and the crafting and all that kind of stuff. But it is. What's the word? It is just unforgiving.
Sure, right.
When you die, you lose experience. You gotta run back to your body. Otherwise, your body will be gone forever and all your shit's gone.
Does your gear lose durability and shit like that?
No, there's no durability loss.
That's in Dune Awakening. They have that. You got to repair your gear and shit.
Oh, no, we don't have that. But this game should be coming out. I think it's around January. Is going to be their the servers will be open for. But the full game won't be complete, but it's actually really exciting. Now, if you go and you look up Monsters and Memories and look at videos or pictures of it, it's going to make your eyes hurt a little bit because it's designed after the visual styling is of an old school EverQuest MMO. It is not trying to look new and pretty. It's got its own art style to it, but there's a lot of polygons and that kind of stuff. So it's for a certain type of grognard to enjoy. But that is me. That is someone that would sit on a weekend in college in one fucking camp to try to get this one named goblin to spawn so I could get his goddamn frost-covered cloak or whatever it was.
Yeah, fucking
mammoth hide cloak. Mammoth hide cloak.
He's tapped in.
Yeah. That was it.
16-hour days. Grinding.
For a fucking cloak that was +2 stamina, +2 wisdom.
Yeah, dude. But man, it felt so good.
Oh, God, yeah.
It felt so good.
It's so good. So, yeah.
So I'm back in it. I'm back in that MMO train.
I know. So I'm going to have this weekend of this, and then I'm going to be I got to get my MMO fix, so maybe I'll test out some Dunerino. I'll come and I'll fucking screen snipe you. I'll find out where you are.
Okay, you have to, as typical with all MMOs, you have to make sure you join my server in my Siege as well.
All right. I'm downloading it. I will send you a message and be like, what server?
Okay.
What?
I'll come, dude. I'll fly to wherever you are with my ornithopter, and we can do a little tour of Haggard together, dude.
Yeah, let's go find some loot boxes, baby.
Yeah, but I don't have a seat in my thopter for you to sit, so you have to just stand on the hood. And I don't have the Mark V thopter yet.
I ain't got that 2-seater. I just got this little puddle jumper. Yeah, exactly. So if we've learned anything so far in this episode, you can be Lucy, you can be Goosey, but you can't be Lucy and Goosey.
That's true.
Yeah,
true.
That's very important. What else you got here, Scott? Garage sale.
I am moving out of my office. I think the last day I'll be here will be July 15th. And on July 10th in the evening, the times will be below in the description, I'm having a hobby garage sale. So if you are in the Twin Cities area, you want to see the location where I was working for the last 3.5 years, for the last time before I move out, see some of my minis, see some of my sets, talk with me, maybe meet Amber as well. Come by. The address will be down in the description below as well. I'm going to be selling all of my stuff that I don't need to bring to the new house at super cheap rates. Some things you can't even buy because they were Kickstarter things that never happened, or they were they were preview things that don't have the final packaging. So I got some cool shit. I'm not going to be charging an arm and a leg for it because the goal is to get rid of it. But if you want to have a little party, a little hobby party on July 10th, address in the description, come hang out.
Yeah, bring your cash.
Bring cash. We like cash here. Yes.
Yeah.
But we also do PayPal and Venmo, but cash is preferred.
Oh yeah, I mean, also if you want to see like early prototypes of Play-Doh snakes, those will probably be for sale.
What do you mean?
Didn't we keep the Play-Doh snakes prototypes that we were gonna kickstart and never did?
No.
Oh well,
I threw those away.
oh damn it. Maybe I'll buy a bunch of Play-Doh and I'll make them.
Okay. Sell them $20 a pop.
Dude, these are art sculptures. And then you pick it up and it's still mushy and you're like, oh, dog, you ruined my art. Oh, well, that used to be a Play-Doh snake. Now it's lumpy. You know why snakes eat other snakes?
No.
They're the right shape.
Is that why? No. I mean, it makes sense, you know?
It was a bad joke.
I mean, now that I'm imagining it, I have seen snakes just eat like mouses, and they're kind of like a little lump inside of them.
Yeah. But just think, if you just had a snake, and then you open your mouth, and another snake went in and went all the way to the back, is like,
or stick bugs.
Yeah, stick bugs are good. That's the right shape.
Or
caterpillars.
Yes.
Earthworms.
Or baby crocodiles.
Baby crocodiles. Baseball bats.
Metal pipes. No, okay.
There's so many pythons in Florida these days. I just assume you'd just be like driving to work and you'd see like a python that's like eating a baseball bat whole. He's like, oh, there's not enough food left.
That sounds right.
They ate it all. All right, what else do I got here? Speaking of mice. So you ever had mice in your house, dude?
Yes.
Yeah. I live kind of out in the country, so I get mice now and again. And I was reminded of this when I was outside mowing the lawn, and my wife runs out screaming. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, there's a mouse in the laundry room. So my wife didn't do laundry for a week because, nor did I, apparently. I'm not trusted to do laundry in my household.
Let me just put that out there.
Let me just put that out there. I don't really do laundry. It's not that I don't do things in my household. It's that I'm not trusted to do laundry. I've made one too many mistakes, and management has deemed it off of my work responsibility list.
Okay.
So we didn't do laundry for a week because she said there was a mouse under the washer and dryer. And so I placed traps and stuff. And we leaned back on scientific research. And this scientific research was in how to catch these mice. And really, this is a public service announcement for you all on how to catch mice if you get mice in your house. When my wife, she works in the basement of a bank in town, and they had mice there. And they found out that they had mice there because she had a big candy dish in her desk.
Oh, God.
And they had a big candy dish upstairs in the teller area. And for both candy dishes, the mice would come and they'd pull the candy down off the table, and they'd tear it open and they eat the whole candy bar. Oh. Now this was a mix bowl, right? There was Snickers, there's Kit Kat, there's Twix, there's Milky Way, there's a boring ass Hershey's whatever chocolate. They would only eat. I'm not even making this shit up. They would only eat the Milky Ways. They would only take down and eat the Milky Ways. So, if we've learned anything, we've learned
that all mice like Milky Ways.
All mice love Milky Way. I have had mice in my house many times over the years. My two cats are fucking worthless, and they don't catch, kill, or do anything with the mice. I've placed every kind of trap known to man, poison, but I don't put poison in my house because I don't want the cats to get to that or the dog.
Right.
But I, have ways to have traps in there where the cats and dogs, and when I had a small child, would get to them. So I placed these kill traps, and I bought a bag of Milky Ways, and I caught them up. And I caught 3 mice in one day.
God damn.
On Milky Ways. I hadn't caught 3 mice in the last 5 years in my house. I caught 3 in a day.
Are you just like now just like seeding a bunch of traps of Milky Way and putting them all over your house?
Yeah.
So the mouse genocide has begun.
It has begun. I hope there's not many more. I don't think there's that many more because we don't see them. I haven't seen them in forever. It's also summer.
Yeah, I was going to say, imagine you see more in the winter.
Yeah, usually I would see them in the winter, but that's usually scary because if they come in and then they make babies, and then you have the little pinky babies. The only time my cats have caught mice is when they're little fucking babies that hardly can move and their eyes aren't open yet, and they come up to you with this little pinky thing, and they're just like, hey, look what I got. And I'm like, fuck, get that out of here. But these were three healthy mice. One of them got trapped on his back leg, and I knew I had caught him because I'm in there editing, and I hear, because my office is in the basement and our whole utility storage room is next to it, and that's where I figure they live, and I was right. I could hear this scraping across the floor. He was trying to crawl his ass to safety. He did not survive the day, but dude, I'm just telling y'all, you ever have a mouse, you have mice problems, you get a kill trap, you cut up your Milky Way in these little bits, like a quarter of an inch by quarter of an inch, put it in there, you catch them mice. They love Milky Ways, dude.
I mean, the things you learn on this podcast. You
Yeah,
learn about
this
mini
is
painting, you learn about wet blending, and you learn about how to kill mice.
This is educational.
Right.
Yeah, I share my knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to judge a painting competition, the first painting competition I've ever judged. No, that's not true, because I also did that one at Adepticon, the big display board one. Armies on Parade. I've never done like a traditional competition, though, where it's like single figs and you're judging them. There's a game store called Bad Wolf Adventurous Studios, actually in Coon Rapids, super close to my house.
Whoa, you got a new home game store.
Not exactly. Well, I mean, it is one that I would like to go to, but it's not a traditional store. And that's kind of part of the story. So I went in there for the first time to do the judging, and there wasn't a whole lot of product. They have a working kitchen and like an area where you can get like drinks and stuff. It was funny. There was a parking spot where it was like, this spot is for to-go food orders from Bad Wolf. I'm like, who the fuck is ordering to-go food orders from a game store? I didn't get it. And then I went inside and there was a whole ass like kitchen in there making food. So then it made more sense. This is kind of like the Fantasy Flight Game Center.
Yeah.
So yeah. And there's like maybe a little bit of paint. There's a lot of 3D printed models from DM Stash and maybe some other places in blisters with their own branding on the walls.
Oh, cool.
Maybe some other like hobby tools, but like if we compared it to the source, and the source is 100% product, this place has 5%. It's not filled to the max. But what they do is I said it. There are maybe like 3 or 4 different rooms for you to play role-playing games, and they are kitted out, dude. So they have like multiple cameras for doing it virtually. So you have lots of angles of the table and of the various players. There are all the tables, I think, have TVs in them, so you can play virtual battle maps, like depending on where you're playing.
Wow.
So there's a lot of tech in all of these rooms. And I guess their bread and butter is having people rent those spaces. Like in my head, I'm like, is this gonna last? They just opened, I think, a couple of months ago. This is one of the first events they had for the painting stuff. And I'm curious to see how long it's gonna last. I'm curious if this is like a profitable idea for a business, but it's interesting nonetheless. And if you're in the Minnesota area, maybe a little bit more northern, go check it out. But I got to judge a competition, and it's so interesting, the experience of sitting down with a bunch of other, people. Like some of them were art painters, some of them weren't painters, and there was a variety of people, which was intentional to get a bunch of different ideas. But we all judged the models individually using a rubric that the store designed, basically what they thought was most important. And then from that, we had like a top 5 or a top 6 that we had all determined. And then we had like a long discussion about like the merits of each one and what we liked about them and what should be 1, 2, and 3. And then eventually when we had a top 3, we all voted privately on what the order of 1, 2, 3 should be. And basically like if we would tally it up then. If you gave a model position 1, it would get 3 points. Silver, 2 points. Bronze, 1 point. And then at the end, after 5 judges did all of those things, you would like add up all the points. And whatever had the most points got the gold, silver, and the bronze. So it was cool. It was it's just interesting because like I feel like I have it's
a very democratic process.
I know, yeah. I suggested that last part for getting gold, silver, and bronze because I didn't want. Because some people are just like loud and like their opinion is like way stronger, and other people just don't really share their opinion as loudly. But like we should all have equal say,
right?
And so I just wanted to do that for that last part. But I feel like I have like a very like rigid way that I judge models, and like I have very specific things I'm looking for that I value, and the other people just have totally different things. Like
Wild.
one guy was a guy that like ran D&D events at bars. Because you mentioned this earlier, so I thought it might be that guy. And his whole thing was like how much the model pops and feels like a player character. So not an NPC, but a PC from arm's reach. Like he was judging a lot of the models from specifically that angle.
Okay, then you have to then be able to describe what aspects give you that feeling. You can't be so wishy-washy about it.
Yeah,
what technical aspects are giving you that feeling, and then you judge on those technical aspects.
Right. But like, so he wasn't necessarily doing that. It was more of like a vibe check kind of thing. But obviously, it'd be poppy colors, bright contrast, like saturation, things like that. Probably a cool model. But the tournament was restricted to only models that are printed from DM Stash, and so they're all kind of like 32 millimeter. Pre-printed stuff.
A nice even playing field.
It was even, yeah. But a lot of the models had like really small faces and features.
Ooh, lordy.
And these were like, these are like kind of like intermediate beginner painters, and so a lot of struggling with eyes and faces and stuff like that. But the guy that actually I wanted to win and who ended up winning was a guy that took the painting class with Caleb Wissenbeck and Kat Jackson that I like hosted like a super long time ago.
Wow.
And I'm like friends with him on Facebook still. So his name is John. It was cool to see him again. And yeah, his model was awesome. But yeah, it was a cool, fun experience. Check out the game store if you're in the area. Support your local game stores.
Do they have an open area that's for like Warhammer or tabletop gaming too?
Yes. Yeah, there's an open area with tables for just general gaming, cards and whatnot. No war game tables though. Like no terrain setup.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Because I think that's a way that they can diversify all y'all bonds is by getting allowing to pick up games or people who meet and play Warhammer or play Magic or whatever. It's like
absolutely
you get the quicker traffic to meet with the scheduled room traffic kind of thing.
Do you think that is a successful business model? Just like off the rip.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
I don't think so either. I'm not saying that because I don't want it to exist and be successful, but like I was surprised to see. But that being said, they're very early on in their existence, and so I'm assuming they're going to flesh it out with more product and more stuff like that as it goes on. Like this is like the first months of this store being open.
Right. I mean, there is a lot of potential. You have to be a good business person of you running a kitchen in there too.
Yes.
But there is a lot of potential for consistent streamlined income with food, right? Because you're just upping the average dollar amount spent for a person walking in your store. That's smart. You have to have a wide variety of product where people are also just coming in to shop and not to play. That's a big thing too.
Yeah, see that's the thing. I don't know if they have a lot of foot traffic doing that specifically because there's just so little product compared to other game stores that I've been to.
Yeah.
But
and maybe because they're new that they're like gonna get their legs under them and do more of that and more reinvest of what money they're bringing in to establish with more distributors and that kind of stuff. So
right, yeah, it's just weird because you think when you go into a game store you're always gonna see the same kinds of things: Magic the Gathering cards, some GW product, some Armor Painter paint sets. Like
yes,
but this one was just totally different. It wasn't
really?
It wasn't that.
Really, that's interesting.
It's so cool.
I do like the idea of them having the retailer or whatever you call it level on some of the bigger 3D printing company things.
Yeah,
and then being because that's a lot of just. The profit margins on that's got to be high. If you're charging $4 for a single figure, that's both the cheap price for you as the consumer, but also for their cost to get that licensure and then the resin to print it.
Yeah,
it's low.
So yeah, I went in their back room and I met the guy who was responsible for all the printing, but they had like whatever, like between 8 and 12 printers back there, like a whole operation for like producing those models.
It's just cool. Yeah, I wish them well. I hope that works and I hope that side of it too, because a lot of us don't have a 3D printer, and you just want one thing for your character in D&D or whatever, some monsters. It's a good way to entry into it, and you can keep the price lower for the consumer. It seems like a win-win.
Yeah,
if you can build that. Do you like soft serve ice cream? Do you like McDonald's soft serve or like soft serve at like Dairy Queen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, my wife fucking loves ice cream so much, and so I have consumed more ice cream than I need to in my entire life by this point. So like I don't like need it. Like we'll go to get ice cream very often, and I'll just not have it because I just have so much of it. So like I'm not dying for it, but yeah, I fuck with soft serve.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm the same way. Or like ice cream, I never am like craving ice cream. But if it's there and it's a good ice cream, I'm just like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll have some ice cream, but I won't go out of my way.
State Fair Dairy Barn soft serve.
Oh yeah,
God tier.
Yeah,
I'll get that every time.
That's a different animal.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
yeah. And so I bring that up because my dog's poop has been like soft serve ice cream lately, and so he'd been on antibiotics. He had some issues. He's good now, but like I had antibiotic eye drops, antibiotic ear drops, and antibiotic pills, and he has had an iron gut his entire life. Like he could fucking eat anything, and his turds are strong as iron. But
getting a lot of poop stuff from you today.
The triple threat of antibiotics just destroyed his gut biome, and he was pooping like fucking waterfalls.
Oh no!
It was like that soft serve from a Chinese buffet, where it's just like
don't relate this shit to food.
Their temperature is not quite right, so it's kind of melty as it comes out of the thing, and it's not. Anyway,
you just ruined China buffet for like 8,000 people,
bro. And I can tell you what, is you going around to pick up your dog's poop when he's on walks?
Oh, you don't gotta.
I mean, there was a time there for about 4 or 5 days where I'm like, listen, neighbors, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
You know,
that's kind of actually a silver lining.
It really kind of was, you know. And then we had all this rain, so I'm like, oh, the rain is just gonna wash it all away.
Yeah.
But the good news, he's back on track now. He's not 100% better, but there was 3 nights when he first came down with it bad, where he just had fucking shit explosion all over our floors in the main floor because he couldn't hold it, and like. I tried to like let him out. I tried to get up at like 2 a.m. and let him out, whatever.
So glad that has not happened in such a long time with my dogs.
As soon as it happens, you remember, or you hear this now, you can recall when that happened with your dogs.
Oh yeah, that is horror inducing.
The good news is, he did it he did it the first night. We didn't know it was going to happen on the front rug, and then that was bad, but I could take that outside and hose it off. But then I did not put the rug back in. It's just directly on the wood floors, and that is way easier cleanup. He did not. My old dog, Remus, when he'd have tummy issues or whatever, he would go to the downstairs because he was like ashamed and whatever, and he'd go downstairs and we had a white carpet downstairs.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but this guy, he's good with the hardwood floors, but he's not had any accidents in the last 2 nights, so...
What I will say is we now sleep upstairs in our new house, and the entire upstairs is carpeted. Mm-hmm. And dogs have a tendency to start puking in the middle of the night. That sound they make, that heaving sound. And so we've had a few issues of puking on the carpet, or just one. We have the bathroom in our room is like tiled, and so the new plan is to get them to go in the bathroom and just throw up there. But they're super confused because normally we just like let them out of the room and go straight outside, but like that's like going down a flight of stairs, and it would never work out. Okay, backing up. While I was at that store, a lot of people there obviously recognized me, and they knew about you. And this one guy comes up to me, and I can't remember the full conversation, but this is definitely an exact quote. He was like, I have this thing for John because I know he likes gimmicks. And so there's this aerosol can you can screw a bottle to the bottom of like thinned paint, of whatever you want, any kind of thinned paint, and then it sucks the paint up through the aerosol can and sprays it out the top. So it kind of reminds me of that like old school GW like gun thing, but just like not less Warhammer, it's not a bolter. It's just a can of spray paint. But this is a gift from, I think maybe his name was Eric. I might got the name wrong, but for you specifically.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I will try this. Yeah. I'm unabashedly excited for this. I want this dumb shit to work. I'm gonna fucking spray down a rhino with this hairspray looking fucking contraption.
Yeah, it's like a hairspray can.
It's called the Amazing Spray System. It's a system, guys.
Yeah.
He even gave me the replacement power unit.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, I got a backup fucking power source.
Okay.
Oh man, unobtainium is used in the making of this system.
Unobtainium. What a thing. I haven't even seen that movie, but I heard about unobtainium.
You need to watch it. It's not a bad movie.
Okay.
Yeah, watch it on your fancy TV and then watch it in the 4K. It is visually amazing. It holds up.
I bet it does. I bet that's going to look good for a very long time.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Eric. This is amazing. I am going to try this. I wonder how much worth of like miniature paint you'd use
my
by putting
God,
it in this
yeah.
thing.
That's like a whole fucking bottle, like
I know.
at minimum.
I'm gonna open this up right now. I want to see how big that bottle, how big the container thing is.
Right.
Let's take a look at the full system.
That's like a house paint kind of thing, you know?
Oh man,
Maybe use house paint with it.
dude. For the you could just paint your house with this, Scott.
No, don't do that.
Dude, for the audio listeners, this is it has the measurements on the side. 6-ounce glass jar.
Yeah.
For you milliliter folks, it looks like about 180 milliliters.
That's like at least $40 of Citadel paint, right there.
Dude, how many milliliters is in a GW pot? Isn't it like 12?
I don't know. It's somewhere between like 10 and 25. You know, it's something like that.
I want to go buy like 10 bottles of one color and put them all in here
And just have brown.
and just spray paint brown everywhere. Everything I paint from now on, starting with this.
You got enough paint that you can sacrifice some bottles to
Absolutely.
whatever the fuck.
It may not be all the same color. I'll just put a whole bunch of colors in there and mix them in.
Yeah.
It's just all just fucking gray poop brown.
Just a bunch of greens.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is. The box in the front does not do that jar justice. That thing is fucking huge.
Doesn't the picture make the jar look smaller?
Yeah, it's like a full-on 20% bigger.
Also, like, I wonder if there's a way to like, because it's just a screw top. If you had the same size screw lid that was something smaller, and you like used a smaller plastic tube, a thinner plastic tube.
3D printing, maybe.
Yeah, you could make this work for our smaller needs. It's like the lid on the top's like a baby food jar. This reminds me of a big baby food jar. Anyway, that is
hilarious.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I love it.
I don't even know what to say.
Shout out to that guy. What is FTG is hopping?
Oh, that's Fireball the Gazebo. Fireball the Gazebo, the podcast with Vince and I. By the time this episode's out, we'll have had 4 episodes released. We did a rapid fire for the first 4 weeks of the podcast. We had a new episode every week. And I'm in charge of tech, which you probably know that because it's not great. I've had some issues working through this new software in my own setup at home with audio, and we're getting there. So thank you for those of you that bear with us. It's totally listenable. I wouldn't put it out there if it was unlistenable, and it's gotten better, and I just kind of working out the kinks. But obviously Scott is the tech master for this podcast, which is why it sounds and looks so much better. But we've had a lot of fun, and we've had some really good feedback, and we just have fun talking about RPGs and Dungeons and Dragons and things that we like, things that we have learned over the years, things that we think make the game better, things that are a struggle, and historically we just want to share our thoughts and opinions. Vince has got a lot of opinions. So
he does.
So if you haven't checked out Fireball the Gazebo, please do. It's on YouTube and everywhere you listen to podcasts, much like this. So if you want more podcasts, and our schedule is going to be for the long term is going to drop every other week on the weeks that Trapped Under Plastic doesn't have an episode. So we will be able to kind of get your hobby and nerdy fix there as well. So thanks to those of you that have already subscribed, that have already left great reviews and that kind of stuff. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, the worst feeling as the guy responsible for the tech of a podcast, you know what it is? You know, the worst feeling?
No.
It's when you forget to push the fucking record button.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I'm waiting for you to have that moment.
Well, luckily, because we use the Riverside software, like, you can't not do that because you hit record and then it does this countdown of till you're live on the screens. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And also it gives you the run timer in big numbers right on top, so it tells you how long you've been running, which helps me not lose track of time. As I just realized your clock on that wall is gone.
Yes.
So
look at the recording here. We're at 54 minutes.
That's a smarter way to do it. But like, it's right in my face. I can't miss it.
Right. Hey, man, tech does weird shit, you know.
I know.
Also, it's an internet-based thing. So let's say something drops for a moment and then it stops recording and it doesn't show you that. Who knows? That wouldn't be your fault. it's way worse when it's your fault.
Yeah, when it's you have to do a tangible physical thing, and we got a couple of them.
Yeah.
And both that camera from where we sit, it's hard to see the record light.
Yeah.
And from here, this box basically looks the same whether it's recording or not.
Yeah.
So we can't tell easily.
Yeah.
We want to get onto the hobby part of this episode.
Hey, I got shit left to talk about, bro.
Oh, God damn it.
How dare you?
Okay, you got more?
First of all, I got more tattoo action.
Oh, you got more work on the filigree on
I
your...
did. So I added these typical, like, kind of like feathers you see in, like...
Fleur-de-lurs?
Yeah, and, like, family crests and stuff like that. I have 2 angels with trumpets and, like, their big old wings and clouds. I kind of want this all to be, like, a giant gothic, like, family crest mural kind of thing. So I want, like, pennants and sun rays and all kinds of shit.
Is it going to wrap around to the top of your arm? Or
I don't know.
Or maybe you can have another more centerpiece or a objective focus on the top of your arm, and then they kind of meld together.
Maybe. You mean like over here?
Yeah,
Is
over
what you're saying? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do with this side or the larger areas, or if I want to keep it on the inside of the forearm.
Yeah.
But I also recorded a podcast with Omar, the guy who did my tattoo, while we were doing the tattoo. So he asked a bunch of questions about being an independent creator, running a business, like being creative, and like all of this kind of generic artist conversation. We'll have that link down below if it does exist. It may not exist because it was a long conversation. Because the tattoo took like, I don't know, at least 3 hours. And we were chatting pretty much the entire time. So long convo. Not sure if it'll be out, but if it is, it'll be linked down below. Last thing, Facebook Marketplace. What the fuck is going on in that place? I'm selling all kinds of stuff lately, and I'll put a thing out, and then someone will be like, is this available? And I'll be like, yes. And they won't say anything. 50% of my interactions on Facebook Marketplace are that exact thing. Someone asks if it's available. I say yes. They say nothing. What the hell?
Have you gone and checked their profile?
No.
Because I've heard that like it's bots and it's weird shit that's going on there that's not real people.
What do they stand to gain by asking if it's available other than pissing me off?
I don't know. They want to make sure you're a person and not a robot too.
Okay.
They're trying to determine. They're testing you.
It's robots finding other robots?
Yeah. I don't know if they're finding other robots. They're trying to find who's not a robot. That's the big thing. They want to find that you're not a robot. Then
they reply back to me because they aren't doing that?
No. They've just known that you are a real human by your initial response. And then when you respond back, then they know you're a human, and then they can find all your deep dive, all your data. They can mine your data.
Okay, I'm gonna respond.
Data mining.
I'm gonna respond like a robot would next time. Test this theory. I'm gonna respond in just zeros and ones, just binary.
Yes, do that.
Yeah.
0 1 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 0.
Do you know how to count in binary?
No.
Oh, I mean, so
0 and 1.
0 and 1, and then what's 3?
0 0 1.
1 0.
1 0.
What's 4?
1 1.
Mm-hmm. What's 5? 1 0 0.
Oh, you had to add a. Jesus Christ.
And then 1 0 1, and 1 0, and then 1 1 1.
Ah, this hurts my head.
You know how to count in hex?
In hex?
Base 16.
No.
All the stupid shit I learned in college that I don't use anymore.
Yeah. Why can't they just use? We have the technology on the keyboard to go 1 through 10.
Well, that's base 10. Yeah. So there's other types of numerical systems that have more numbers in them. Hex gets away with it by using letters.
Oh.
So when you get to 1 0, I believe you go to 1A.
Oh.
Yeah. And then 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, and then 20, 21, then 21A, 21B, etc. Which is useful for like registers in memory buses and stuff like that. They have addresses like that. Anyways, now we're really off topic. Let's get into the mini painting portion. And we kind of have a similar theme for the models that we painted, kind of other than, I think that's a Cathay model over there. Who should go first?
Yeah, I'll go with the the oldest thing I painted on here, which was my Orc Kit Bash, my Mad Max Orc vehicle. You can surely pick it up. Just pick it up by the base.
Okay. He was telling me earlier that it like tore off of the Torx. I'm kind of like afraid.
Yeah, I tried to blue tack it down to my carrying case last night, and it's not pinned onto the. It's not the car isn't pinned onto the base. It's just glued on, and it's glued directly onto cork. And if you know anything, you know that's not a smart idea. So if it happens again, I'm just gonna pin it down. But yeah, so this is my Mad Max theme vehicle that I had kit bashed, and I painted it up. I took your advice on the Malto liquid chrome, and man, that stuff is so fun and so cool. It's like you have to be very careful, like not to put anything on it until you absolutely know that you want some level of weathering or something on it, because you can never bring it back to that shiniest shine.
Really?
Yeah. Even enamels that you buff all the way off, even with mineral spirits, it leaves a bit of haze.
How long did you let the paint cure for?
48 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And so it's not that like there's something wrong with the product that created that. It's just like its mirror shine is so strong that anything any layers of anything you put on top of it, understandably so, will take away that mirror shine. So I tried to use that to my advantage and just like made everything else much more grimy, and then I can just like be very selective to create some of that haze and some more weathering while keeping enough of those interesting shiny things on there. So yeah, it was fun, and it was honestly, the painting the vehicle did not take too long with just working up layers of the new AK Interactive Quick Gen paint, which is their version of speed paint, which I was very impressed with. A big thing that they do is they tell you the translucency in a series of check boxes on the fucking bottle.
Nice.
So you know if something is very strong, kind of medium, or light. And that helped a ton to do that. So, and then I purposely made the orcs the only kind of cool color on the piece to make them stand out. There was a bitch and a half to try to fucking paint those while they were all attached to that fucking car, though. Trying to get
did a good job, though. The guy through the window, I was like kind of like peering at his arm and his shoulder, and it looks painted enough.
Yeah. It was. I mean, a big part of that is doing the underpainting of like a burgundy for all the skin and like a Rhinox hide or a darker brown for everything else. And so then you can build up off of that. So stuff that falls into more shadow, it's not just black and looks unpainted. It looks like a more interesting, darker color to it. So they're not as refined as the single figure that I did, but I felt like it was really nice because painting the car first, and I actually painted the base first because I had to wait all that time for that chrome to cure. So then I painted the whole base. Having everything else done, I could more easily tell when to stop, even though I knew it wasn't as refined or as nice looking the skin as I maybe would want it to be, because it still made the right impacts.
Okay, so do you think that is going to kind of shape the way you paint going forward, or are you going to like work on the base sooner in the process, or no?
It was the bigger thing was having the vehicle all done, because it's kind of all encompassing, so you could really see where they sat next to everything else. And it really specifically seemed to work because there was a big contrast of warm and cold for me to let them stand out without having to be so refined on that. If it was just individual figures that you didn't have that context, I would probably still struggle with it more than seeing it as the whole is bigger than the sum of its parts kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
But that was so fun to do.
Is this the beginning of an orc army or what?
I'm currently in discussion with somebody from Games Workshop to see if they can help me out with a massive project that I want to do for this. Because
ominous.
Yes, if I would love it to actually have an entire army of these. However, orcs in the game, even their vehicles, are so fucking cheap in points. There's no way I could manage to have 2,000 points unless I can do my own version of the biggest, dumbest, most expensive model that the orcs have access to eat up a bunch of points and to be a giant kind of centerpiece model. So
that's the way you got to do it. See,
yeah.
I thought I was doing that with Dark Eldar, and then I discovered that a Razorwing Jet Fighter is like 100 points. I'm like, what? I spent more hours on this thing than it costs in points in game. Like, okay, this is bad.
Yes.
But that's the way to do it for sure.
All right, what did you paint over there, Scotty?
So I painted 2 characters from the upcoming Mindwork Kickstarter. I forget what it's called. Wasteland?
Yes.
Something Wasteland? Wasteland Paradise? That's what it is. And I did a little experiment, and I'm curious if you look at both models side by side, if maybe you can just figure out what the experiment was right away with your artist eyes. So they're both like 4-hour paint jobs, 5-hour paint jobs maybe.
Thing that you are doing differently. Well, there's a much more of the your undertone. The undertone on the skin. This one's richer, like burgundy, and this one started from like that dark blue, grayish blue that's also under all of her cloth and stuff.
Yeah, you're kind of nailing it right now. Yeah. And so I made essentially a video about mini painting myth busting, where I have 3 claims that I test that I had the audience pick for me. One of them is a classic one that I've already busted, but people love to hear and talk about it, and that is if you use metallic paint on a wet palette, is it going to get any other paint? So that was myth number 1. And myth number 2 was people often like to relate, like people want to explain to beginners what the ideal dilution for paint is, and they'll often relate it to milk. I've also heard melted ice cream. And so I do a test showing whether or not those are good examples. And the last test that I did in the video to paint these models was people often say that you shouldn't mix white and black for your highlights, and instead should use a colorful thing, or just shouldn't use white or black at all because it's not realistic. Yeah. And so on the desaturated one that you said was kind of bluish and grayish, all of that model's shadows are mixed with black, and all the highlights are mixed with white.
Yeah.
But both models use the exact same midtones. And the colorful one, same midtones, but they're using colorful shadows and colorful highlights.
What a big difference that makes.
It's honestly crazy. And I love doing these side-by-side things because whenever I hear someone make any kind of claim in literally any walk of life, I'm always such a skeptic. And so it's really nice just to have the things side-by-side to like learn for myself and draw my own conclusions and stuff like that. And yeah, like I want you to watch the video so you can hear like my thoughts on like whether or not this is a myth busted or not a myth busted and stuff like that. But still, an interesting comparison nonetheless.
Yeah, I dig it. I think it's great to have very similar models and use the otherwise basically the same color scheme too, so you can see the direct connection, and it's not like. You don't want to put too much weight into the you use a different base color for this one than this one, so maybe that base color is the biggest affecting factor.
Right. Yeah.
When you can see directly the use of saturated colors for both highlights and shadows versus desaturating colors, basically.
Here's one thing I will say, and you probably have discovered this inadvertently and maybe even have noticed it, that you can get way more color from the shadow than you can the highlight. I find that because I feel like when you're painting a brighter thing, you use a shadow that's lighter because it's a lighter thing in general. And if it's lighter, then you can use a more obvious color. When something that's closer to black has less color in it, right? But for white, for instance, I did a white on both those models, and on the white I did just gray for the shadows for the black model, so I'm mixing black in, and for the other one I did a blue shadow, and it's so much more obvious to see that on that model. But with a highlight, I feel like it's harder to see colors and highlights because they just desaturate more quickly. Other than when you're painting dark things, like on her hair, I made the highlights blue in the hair, and gray on the other one, and so it's obvious to see. But I find that I'm mostly working in the upper register of colors, brighter colors in general, and so I find that I get a lot of my color from shadow. And you have done a lot of interesting experiments where you have really zany undercoats of maroons and purples and stuff, and just so much color comes from that darker area.
Yeah, it gives you it kind of gives you bumpers on your bowling lane of you can't help but have a foundation of strong color to work off of.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of the brain work out of trying to decide for the saturation of the darker colors because they're already there for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally feel this, and actually connects a little bit to one of the things I'm going to talk about in the after party for this thing about something new we've tried in directly trying to deal with what you talked about, the desaturation of highlights. And that is mixing in fluorescent paints into your highlight colors.
Yeah.
To try that, to prevent some of that and try to create a more punchy, brighter color.
Are you doing it in every highlight on this model?
Yes, but it's mostly noticeable on the skins, the reds, and the jade. And it's not a ton, because the tricky thing is that fluorescent paints are naturally very translucent, right? They're not going to give you an opaque coat, so you have to pair them with
A white
or an off-white,
Yeah.
an opaque color, to just basically try to elevate that opaque color and add a touch of it. You don't look at that model and necessarily know that fluorescents were used, though.
No, yeah, absolutely not. When am I going to get you to paint some motherfucking eyes, brother? What is this?
You don't have eyes. It's
He's
just
got
fucking
eyes.
slits. It's fucking slits.
You got the skills.
I'd like
Paint the damn eyes.
No, I'm not gonna paint his fucking eyes. It's like they're just tiny, tiny slits between the upper and lower lid. I went in and I put a darker brown in there because it's all in shadow. I had thought about putting just the light dot of white for the reflection in there, but like if you painted those at all, realistically, you would not see them. You would not see the whites of those eyes. They're so close and they're so in shadow.
Would you like some feedback on this model?
Sure.
Paint the fucking eyes. Okay, this model in particular, he is quite squinty.
Yes.
But I mean,
It's also a 3-hour paint job. I'm fucking. This is
pretty good for a 3-hour paint job.
This is an infantry model, so it was a test for an.
This is an infantry model.
This is a test for an infantry model.
What is this model?
It's kit bashed. It is the torso of the Cathay model, the new Cathay models, because it's fucking, that coat is fucking banging.
Yeah, it's sick.
The problem with the Cathay models is, good or bad, they're old world models, so they're multi-part kits. So everything is separate arms, separate legs.
Oh wow.
Separate head, whatever. So they're all super fucking static. So
This guy is static?
Not the way I did him.
Okay.
His legs are from Slaves to Darkness. So I drilled out the inside of the coat, and I drilled off his ass and his thighs, so it'd slide up underneath there. And so he's pushed back a bit. Mm-hmm. So his center of gravity is pushed back. So he's leaning up towards the sky. There's he's got his shoulder joints are completely sculpted and reposed, and they've added like an eighth of an inch at the shoulder to make the arms longer, because the arms are super short. Also, the problem with these models is their ratios, I feel, are wrong, as Cathay models. They just show from mid-calf to below, underneath that coat, is the whole length of their lower body. They look like they're 50% torso to head and 50% torso to leg. Their ratios are fucked. They look like squat little people.
Yeah, because this guy looks right.
Yes.
And so if there was less of
Yeah, so I did it right above the knee is where you can see. I'm not kidding you. It's halfway down the calf.
What?
They look ridiculous.
It's a GW model.
Yeah. It's the old world, so like their
but
stuff is slightly off. And then their arms are short. So their arms are the correct ratio for how squat their bodies are. So I needed those to be elongated. So they're in a totally different pose. They're pinned together, so that arm is up. And that arm is actually supposed to be a shield arm. I cut off all this stuff, and I rested it on that blade, so it kind of looks like he's like holding the pommel of the blade. And then obviously that's a Slaves to Darkness Viking head. That's not a Cathay head either. So
right, yeah.
So yeah.
So interesting that GW has made the choice to like follow the aesthetic of the old game. I love that the arms come as, arm, left arm, right arm, whatever. Like that's cool. That makes kit bashing a whole lot easier when it's segmented like that. Obviously, you lose the dynamicism of the models.
They, unfortunately, though, almost all of them are like the traditional poses. They're either in an L shape,
holding a shield.
Yeah, they're L shape holding the shield, or they're an L shape holding the sword, or it's like just slightly up or slightly down. They feel like a robot. They don't feel organic.
Rock'em sock'em.
So the whole plan of this was to give me a foundation of what the core of the army would look like, right? When you think of like your army, you think of like what are the infantry look like, to get the theme, but not be the fancy over the top kind of guys. And that was where this came from. This was hosed down with purple to start, and then like a dark red from above, and then a Mephiston red right over head and shoulders. And so we went right over that with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see that purple all over the back of the model, and obviously on the front as well, in the chainmail.
Mm-hmm.
So colorful.
Yeah, that scale mail was really fun because it was just like taking a heavy glaze, starting your brush at the bottom of the scale and ending your brush stroke at the top of the scale. So it was darker up there. So as it went into the recesses, that red and purple still showed. And that way we kept the darkest part of the scale right next to the peak where the edge will show that ding of light. So we get maximum contrast.
You're telling me that you are glazing individual scales and this took you 3 hours? I call bullshit.
It was one coat for each scale, and it was, I would call it a heavy glaze. It's just thinner than
glaze.
Yeah, a fat glaze. And it was one. I was pretty quick. I got, you get that like the witching hour of your brush where it's worked in. You know, you've used it enough sessions where it's like worked in. You got a good feel for it, but it's still sharp as a fucking dagger. So this is the tip of that brush, like boop 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 boop.
Yeah, I have a Mindwork brush right now that is like very tenured, and it has lost like at least like 30% of its bristles, but it is just so fucking sharp and unkillable for some reason.
Oh yeah,
I've been using it for like, I swear to God, like 6 or 7 months. So I love it when a brush does that.
Yeah, so it was fun. I really
it looks awesome.
There's like a two-sided coin to this guy, and the reaction that you had is he looks like he is the model in the box.
I haven't seen the box, but that was like a model that would exist in AOS.
Yep,
for sure.
That's what I think too. Which is, it's like I'm really proud of him. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And if you see the process in the video, you see that like, oh, there's actually a good bit of work. But I didn't want to like do 5 different kits on an infantry. I wanted just enough where it made him feel cool, but no extra other stuff, because if you're going to do this over a squad of 10 or 20, like you can't be doing all of that. So that was one side where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really proud of he just like looks like a real kit. The other side is like, I think he looks too much like the real kit. He doesn't look like the real kit. He looks too much like a real kit that I don't think he's going to jump off on the thumbnail for people to look at it and say, oh wow, what is that? Like the original samurai dude with a giant sword, he did. And this guy I don't think does as much. So we'll see how that works for the video.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that.
I didn't think about it until after.
You did too good of a job.
Yeah, I didn't think about it until I started doing the thumbnail. I was like, he looks cool, but he looks like something out of a box. But the box that I want to buy, right? That's the key. It's like, you know, these little things you can do to improve your model is to make them be the one you want to buy.
Right. I mean, if you want to show that in the thumbnail, I would do the classic left and right thing where you're showing the original model on the left, and maybe you have an arrow. You don't really need an arrow. And then the other model on the right. And you can experiment with this, but I found that when you blur out the model that's the new one, it entices more clicks. But that implies that you have this kit, it doesn't look as good or up to snuff for you, and then you modified it, and so it's different.
Yeah, I should maybe go home and do another thumbnail that does that.
Maybe. Like, that's a very typical format that a lot of people do. That works.
I've seen people that do that.
Like Pete the Wargamer does that a lot.
I've seen that, and I could be wrong, but I feel like that it's lost its punch,
maybe,
because it's been done a lot now. So I don't know. It's this fucking YouTube game, dude.
Yeah, no, I definitely had a phase where I was like very into the YouTube game in the last couple of months, and I am like definitely coming off that high, because what I've discovered is it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
The only thing that matters is that you are, as a creator, behaving in such a way that your emotional state, your artistic state is at a high, so you can do this for decades.
Yep.
Like, the only thing that matters is endurance, and oftentimes that comes down to just you doing your channel in a way that you enjoy.
Yes.
Right? And if it's fucking hustling and focusing on YouTube metrics and all this bullshit, and you don't want to do that, like, you're eventually going to drain yourself out. So
you only have so many energy units that you can spread out to things.
Exactly.
If you're spending too many of them on that, you're not putting it onto the actual, the thing that, like, you know, I think most or all of us in the mini painting sphere for YouTube, is like the passion is in that 15 to 20 minute video that you watched. Like that typically does not wane too much. In fact, we get better at certain things, our delivery, or showing our personality, having fun, being able to describe things, showing new interesting things. That is the core. That is what we should focus on. And by and large, those things are great. It's when you have to start feeling that ickies of like, well, how do I maximize? I already put all that work, and I'm really proud of that work that I did in that video. How do I maximize so the most people see it, which is an understandable thing, right? Because we want people to see it because we know we stand behind the thing we did and we're proud of it. We know nothing's perfect. Our turnaround on these things is ridiculous. You know, even for us that take 7, 10, 14 days to make a video, unlike those robots, fucking Nick and Jay, that can do 17 videos a week. Like it's so much of you is put into a video that you just want to maximize that, but then you go down that fucking dark rabbit hole of like, thinking about all that stuff too much, and it's just not healthy for you. But
right,
I like to remind myself that the good news is there's waves on this ocean, but by and large, they're pretty minimal, you know. And if you keep doing your thing, even if you're at the bottom of the wave and you don't understand these tweaks or changes in the algorithm or what YouTube does, it all kind of writes itself. If you're true to who you are and you're authentic and you're proud of the product you make, it'll all work out in the end, you know? And you don't buy 3 Lamborghinis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you buy your 3rd Lamborghini yet?
It's coming in the mail.
Okay.
It's Lamborghini Murcielago.
Yeah, I got mine from Temu, so it should be here soon. It's a scam. All right.
If I could buy a sports car, it would 100% be a 944 turbo, a Porsche 944. There's a guy in Washington that commented on a podcast. He was like, "Yo, Scott, I live in Washington, or it was either Oregon or Washington." He was like, "I own a 944. You can drive it." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I would love to."
You know what you should have responded?
What?
Is it automatic?
What? I can drive a manual.
Dude, that's the joke, dude. That's the joke.
Oh.
The joke is like, you could be like,
oh, the joke is acting like an idiot?
Yes.
I'm pretty good at doing that.
Yeah, so it's a funny joke. He would be nice and be like, no, they don't come in automatics.
Nope.
Although I think Porsche did come out with recently a sports car that is automatic, and people are not happy about that.
Well, I believe actually Jason Craze, he has a Panamera, and his is automatic. So I think some of their models come in automatic. I don't know for how long, but
There's Porsche is one of those companies that's trying to hold pretty firm to it compared to most.
Yeah, they do have an electric car, the Taycan.
Yeah.
So that's coming out too. But even their automatic cars are Tiptronic, which means that you can put it in this mode that allows you to change the gears if you want.
That's what my Audi was when I had my Audi before. It was Tiptronic, so that was a kind of a nice combo of both worlds. If I don't want to pay attention, or if I do want to go rum rum rum, I can do both.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's Car Chat with Scott and John.
Short, brief. All right, let's get into the main topic.
Wait, do we want to do this mini painting critique? Let's do this mini painting critique. Yeah, this is from our patron Campbell, Trewin. And this is one of the benefits you get from joining the Trapped Under Plastic Patreon, is that you can submit a model for us to thrash live on the air. How great would that be to feel great about yourself as we pick apart your...
John can call you Wee Wee.
Yes. You also get a free nickname, and you can use that. You can put on your business cards, whatever you want. Also, as being a member of the Patreon, you could submit ideas for videos for us, for our main topics, which is a big help. We thank you. We want to know what you think are good topics, what things you want us to talk about. So you get to do that. You get to submit your own mini for critique. You get access to the extended version of the episode. Every single episode, we actually have a miniature painting longer podcast. Those are words. What's it called? The After Party?
Yep.
We call it the After Party, so you get the full extended director's cut of the podcast. Every single episode, both on YouTube and on all podcast locales. So whether you listen to us or watch us, that is something that we do just for you. Thank you so much to our patrons. You are a huge help, and we cannot thank you enough. Let's talk to Campbell Trewin.
Campbell, chicken noodle soup. All right, he's got a little Instagram called Black Lab Minis, and he has painted for us an orc. I think it's a 75 millimeter model, maybe, because it's from scale 75.
Do you think that means like the dog black lab, or do you think that means like it's a laboratory and it's dark and very grungy?
Ooh, I don't know. I thought I would find out more by looking at the things he paints on his Instagram or like reading his bio. I'm not sure. Maybe dog. I like dogs.
Dags.
Digs.
Okay, let's take a look at this arc. There is a lot of different colors going on here, my friend.
Got a green skin. Orc's got a yellow belly. He's holding on to a magenta purple squid. He's got turquoise pants. He's got a handkerchief around his waist that's red. He's got some
purple bottles.
Purple bottle detailed on there. A brown leather hat. There's a lot going on color wise here. I love the pink inside the mouth.
Yes.
I think it's always cool to do that kind of thing. It lends a certain amount of realism to the model.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has some nice volumetric highlights going on here. I can see you working on the various muscles on his shoulder and his arms and even his big old weird face where he has like this huge, I don't know what this area that it's called, where it's like the area in between your nose and your upper lip. That's like times 10 on this orc.
Yeah, it's really extended.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like a gorilla's face.
Kind of,
you know how it's really long down there.
Yeah.
I'm really loving the chest, that green to the yellow, and you're bringing in those umbers for the shadows.
Right. Yeah, there's like a reddish brown in the shadows.
Yeah, that umber adds so much depth to color, and it's the bridge between the yellow and the green, because you still use that in the shadows as you're transitioning, and it helps make that feel very authentic and natural. I would have liked that brown shadows to find its way into the arms and face a little bit too, because then those look a little bit more two-dimensional compared to the lot of volumes and depth of color on the chest. So that's good. I mentioned it's a little bit of clown fiesta, Campbell. You got a lot of colors going on here, and it's not that you have a lot of colors; it's that you have a lot of loud colors, and they all are kind of fighting. I will tell you, Scott, when you first looked at this mini, what draws your eye first? Yep, his fucking thigh.
His thigh
pants.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to look there first.
And why? Why does it happen?
Because it is so saturated and it so jumps out compared to everything else.
It's the only warm color. It's the only cold color. This purple magenta, this warm green that leans into yellow, this brown leather, the pink of the mouth, they're all like warm colors. And then the one cold one is like bing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the gold thing also is a cold gold, and so is the purple. But that teal is the biggest surface area.
Right. And it's so saturated.
Yes.
You could still have that pants be teal, but desaturate them, darken them, make them not so eye-grabbing. If you really wanted teal on this model, and you want that as your fun pop color, find maybe make that feather that's on top of his head.
And the squid, make the feather and the squid a nice fun turquoise.
Right. I'm not drawn enough to his face, and I think that we want more contrast, more interest in color, and I know you're capable of doing that because you did that chest. That looks great. Add more depth of color, brighter highlights on that green than anywhere else on the model, and then we will be drawn to that face. Hell, you could freehand a teal fucking skull and crossbones on the hat.
And that would a lot of space.
Yep, draw your eye right to that key part where you want your audience to be looking.
Could paint his eyes teal, if you wanted to go crazy with it.
Good call.
The hat, like John just mentioned, has a lot of surface area right in the middle, and it seems like he kind of only did the weathering on the edges, and I feel like the weathering could be all over that hat. And a great way just to get like a base of weathering on a big hat like that is just honestly to apply your base coats with a sponge. Like sponge in some shadows, sponge in some highlights, and then start to glaze some of that texture away and add color interest. And then add little scratches, and then glaze some more, add some more scratches. Really get lots of layers of development going on to get a really nuanced texture. Right now, we're not seeing enough. There's more potential to be had here. And I would say the other thing I want to say, I totally agree with John with the colors, 100%. Looking at his left arm, you are painting it volumetrically, but then suddenly when it wraps around to the front of the model, those highlights just stop. like those highlights need to continue. It's a 360-degree volume. It's an orb, So I want you to wrap those highlights around that shoulder muscle and paint it top down like you're doing so nicely when we see it from the right side or the left side, whatever it is. So yeah, wrap those things around those volumes. They're 3D things.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to really like here, and you got a lot of victories. I bet that this was actually, you learned quite a bit. And there's some good takeaways from this model. It's a scale 75 model, so I'm guessing he's fairly sizable. So you had a fun job of working with those bigger volumes and that kind of thing. But certainly some great takeaways. We appreciate you sharing it with us. And this is a badass orc pirate. Yarg. Yarg.
Black Sea minis, more like it.
See what you did there. Okay, today's topic. Now, this is not going to be a super long one today because our Preamble Ramble, we got a lot of catching up to do, but we do want to talk about some miniature companies. We each came up with 3 miniature companies that are smaller. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't heard of them, and we're going to talk about why we really like them, what they bring to the industry, and why they resonate with us. So we're just going to alternate back and forth. Scott, do you want to go first? Because you took 3 and you cheated.
I did cheat. I guarantee you haven't heard of any of these companies. No, okay, I can't do that. All right. I'm going to keep the honorable mention for the end. And the first one I'll go with is Hera Models. And specifically the one thing that I want to call out is I feel like Hera is doing academic busts more and better than any display company that I'm aware of on the market. And so if you're a kind of an intermediate painter, a beginner painter, or just someone who's painted a lot of 32 millimeter models and hasn't really gotten into the world of larger scale stuff, busts can be really intimidating, especially busts that have like the whole torso, the tops of the thighs, both arms holding shields, holding weapons. Like, it's so much miniature to paint. And so an academic bust is kind of like the busts you see from like the old Roman days, where it's like a very limited thing. It's like just a head, or it's a head and some shoulder and a very minimal amount of upper chest, not a lot of details, and it just very focuses on the subject of painting large scale faces. And so it's a great intro to larger scale models specifically. They have wonderful sculpts, they have wonderful paint jobs, as kind of all of these companies we're going to list probably do. But that is a great company to start with for display model painting if you want a more simplistic sculpt.
I hadn't realized that their academic line is so robust.
Yes, there's so many options.
I mean, obviously they make the orc, which is probably the coolest fucking academic bust ever made.
Which one?
I love that orc.
That one is classic.
Yeah, and these aren't so overwhelming. And then they have the Wolverine, not actually Wolverine. One, but yeah, there's a bunch of them here that are all really cool, and they're relatively reasonably priced too.
Some of them are getting a little too detailed for me, actually.
Yeah, they do feel more like they're an actual bust that just shows. I would rather they do more busts that are like this than the other direction that busts are going.
Yeah,
where there's like everything down to the fucking kneecap, and you're like, well, you don't have to paint the calf,
man. Yeah,
it's like, oh, come on, dude, just like. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of there's a lot of story and a lot of motion and a lot of like atmosphere created with arms, right? There's a lot with that.
But, I mean, to be fair, I did that exact thing with the cheerleader. It's both arms all the way down to the waist. So yeah. It's a chunky model. I remember a long time ago, Crystal Brush. Oh my gosh, who's the other painter who worked with Roman in Massive Voodoo? His name is escaping me right now. Rafael Apica. He took a bust that was like one of those giant busts that went down to its middle thigh and just sculpted the legs on it. And had a 110 figure that he put in Crystal Brush because there was just so much there already to work with.
Yeah. Good pick. And that's Hera. It's one of those things that they make really, really good large scale stuff and busts that I need to go revisit them. And I don't think I've seen their stuff at like Adepticon, as more and more of these companies have booths.
Yeah.
That kind of been in the sense of trying to find something to excite me to paint for Nova Open.
Ooh.
And so
yeah.
I'm probably gonna paint something from my first pick, which is, in my opinion, the best large-scale busts sculptor on the planet.
Wow.
And it's Lucas Pina of Spira Mirabilis.
He's top 3 for sure.
His ability to create emotion, to create the finest of details, and to create so much story in the faces and the poses of his characters is just phenomenal. They're so characterful. They feel like they're out of like a live action Disney movie almost. Like they're just like so realistic, yet there's something fantastical and there's so much whimsy to them that I just love. And they're not about so much focus on like war and evil and fighty and kill everything. Like there is some aspect of fantasy to them, but like they take a sidestep from that and just kind of like let you feel the world, but not have everything being about war and battle. And it's just kind of a nice breath of fresh air. Everything is hand sculpted, and if you follow him on Instagram, you can see his whips of like how he is taking these things with just like weird looking little homemade tools, and he is able to craft these hyper detailed, really expressive, and sometimes even a little bit over the top absurd, pushing that line that's still really like memorable. Mm-hmm. Every one of his pieces is memorable. He only comes out with a handful a year. And this is the other thing I like about him, because I'm a fucking gremlin that likes to collect things. And he does a pre-order for 48 hours, and you have to pre-order during that 48 hours or you will never get it again, unless you want to buy it on the secondary market, in which case it'll be at least triple the price, because these are collector's items. And so he's got everything from the unique experience down pat as well. So they come in a unique box that is picked. I don't know how that happens, or it is designed for this specific model release. Every time the box is different. It's got different foiling on it. It's got different markings. It's got an interesting little twine and like a wax seal on it. You open it up, and there is a beautiful art card with like an art rendition that he hires this artist to do a 2D artwork of the model. And on the back, he gives you a personal message. This is like, thank you. And then he signs it, and it's numbered. If there was 500 that were produced, it tells you you're number 207 of 500. And he puts a little smiley face on there. And then you open the little package, and you get to see your model. And just like, unlike any other models I have ever opened in my life, opening those models every single time makes me smile. Like just seeing that, holding it in the hand, I'm like, not used to how amazingly detailed and expressive that they are. So he's my number one.
What's your favorite bust from him that you own?
That I own? Oh, gosh. I really, really like the goblin riding the pig. Because you just get that big chunky pig face on there, and then that goblin looks like he's maybe a level 1 goblin. He looks like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's got a giant Adam's apple. Just these tiny little details of where he pulls and pushes levers and strings to like give them the character. I really, really like that one. But like every single one, there are different reasons why I like find them unique, and I like.
Okay.
What about you?
I think, even though I'm intimidated by the prospect of painting it, my favorite one is the Goblin King.
It's his biggest single figure.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So many different faces to paint in that model.
Little baby goblins everywhere on him.
Yeah. But I don't know why. Like, I'm not like a goblin person at all. Like, I don't necessarily like goblins. But that model just does it for me. I love it. I love maybe the big fat belly.
Last thing I wrote on my little notes to myself here is his models are sculpted for painters. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of room to breathe and room for you to put your own spin on that. There's a lot of, they are not over detailed. They're not covered in junk. There's room for you to express yourself as a painter and have volumes and have all sorts of things to have your own take on it. So that's a big thing, especially when you're getting to larger scale. When people over design stuff, it's quickly kind of lose my boner.
Well, thank you for the update on your dick. My next company is a little-known company called Games Workshop. No.
Have you seen these guys? Have you heard about them?
So, as you guys know, probably, I love to paint cool mini or not miniatures. I love how, like, sometimes they can be really characterful, not too burdened with detail. Sometimes they are. But the big downside of painting CMON models is their casting. It's never amazing. It's not nice to clean. It's not super crisp and stuff like that. But what if I told you? Whoa! You could find several companies that fill that same role, that same vibe of model, but are cast in a much sharper pewter or resin.
Hey now.
I bet you'd be excited, wouldn't you? Well, there are. And there are many companies, but the ones that I want to shout out in my video, or in my section here, my number 2, is a company called Redbox Games, a company called Hassle-Free Miniatures, and another one called Westfalia.
Westfalia?
Yes. So these are all, in the range of 28 to 32 millimeter hand-sculpted models that are fantasy, probably mostly fantasy, some sci-fi, but they're just really fun little vistas of fantasy life, whether it's like a little halfling carrying a giant pike that's too big for him, or if it's like a witch king or a banshee. They're all, again, there are these kind of more simple models. I mentioned earlier about that Humble Bundle with Jordan. These models also have a very similar vibe. Like they make the painting all about the character of the model and not the shit that's on them.
Yeah.
And so that just makes the paint job so exciting and fun. And I don't know, I think hand sculpting sometimes can get a little difficult and a little bit weird. But these guys, I think, have a really good idea about how to really nail it. Westfalia also has done a lot of fun sculpting for Morkbjorg, I think.
Morgan.
Exactly that. They've made some models in collaboration with that company. And they have Westfalia is kind of more of like a dark aesthetic. I have like some witches and some skeleton warriors from them. Hassle-Free is a little bit more kind of like fun and lighthearted, kind of like I mentioned, like the halfling with a pot belly or something like that. And then Redbox is just like your tried and true fantasy, or your human warriors.
Feels very D&D.
Yeah, your orcs.
Done right.
But it's not like there's something about it. Like, it's so difficult when you say the word characterful, like what that exactly means. And I guess what it means is it's not generic looking or feeling. Yeah. Like, it has an aesthetic that is unique to these companies that's not replicated necessarily in other places. And so it's fun. I love these kinds of models, and they'd only get better if they were better cast. And these little small companies do exactly that.
I wasn't familiar. I know I'd run across them before, but I hadn't really done any deep dives before on Westfalia, and I'm in there now, and I fucking love this stuff.
Yeah, definitely kind of like a darker vibe, right? Like,
yeah.
And
again, very characterful in each detail. That's the one thing that in the copy-paste world that has now hit a lot of like the 3D sculpting worlds, where it's like the same detail reused over and over again. Like, every detail on these things feels like there was a purpose behind it, and that tells the story or of what this beast is or what this character is. And
absolutely,
I'm fucking for it.
Like, oh man, this guy Aguirre, I don't know if that's the right word. Like, I love that
bent over.
What a weird pose. Yeah, and his face is just front and center. The prowlers look really cool. I have a few models from him that haven't gotten painted yet, but man, I think they're really freaking cool. There's so many ones I haven't even seen before.
Bro, he's got a barbarians range in here.
He does?
What?
Oh, there's some sci-fi shit in here, dude.
I'm looking for D&D character inspiration looking through this fucking place right now. Oh, hell yeah. This is great. Yeah, I love that, like, old school, like, hand sculpted, but like there's always this interesting character to them, and you have to put so much of your like effort into sculpting it by hand, so you can't you don't want to reuse certain things to it, and each one needs to feel unique, and like that really comes through here.
Bro, I didn't know you had so many sci-fi things. Have you seen?
Oh yeah, there was at least one massive range that I saw.
Look at that guy.
I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at, but that looks sweet.
That guy fucking sick. He's got kind of like an Illidan kind of weapon, you know?
Oh yeah, man, and his orcs they are not pretty, and I mean that as a compliment. Yeah, they're just... Dude, the goblins are like, their head is as big as their torso. It's just so fucking great.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. It's a good transition to which one I'm going to talk about next.
Excellent.
I'm also a massive fan of the 32 mil scale. And to take a step back, is the three that I picked 3 different areas, and I think you did something similar. I picked one that was kind of like a larger scale artist sculpt size, and that's where I picked Spira Mirabilis. And then I wanted one that was a 32 mil, like just really unique and interesting, and I just love the design. So just kind of standard D&D Warhammer scale. And then my last one is going to be 3D printing, something that they make miniatures for 3D printing. So my middle one, I thought for the longest time that this guy all hand sculpted all of his stuff because they feel hand sculpted. But the tiny details and where you need to be very precise to really define things, especially on like faces, he does it so well. And that's a lot of times when you're talking about hand sculpting where it can fall is on small details like faces, where it kind of gets obscured. You can only do so much. You only have access to so much real estate to give expression in the face and some other small details. But I found out that Sean Sutter from Metal King Studios actually sculpts digitally, but he does it in the weirdest way. Because he started sculpting by hand, and what he does is he goes in digitally and he does everything out of basically virtual balls of clay. He doesn't take it from sticks and from rigid geometrical shapes. He takes a thing and he carves into it in the way you would carve away at clay to make the model. And so it has that aesthetic, that feel of hand sculpted, but you have the more precision, and you can rework angles. You can rework to make the pose slightly more dramatic. He can zoom way in to make sure that he gets the right amount of detail on the face so it feels unique, but it also isn't overly designed. He is well known, and why I love him is his stuff is not overly designed at that small scale, and it is so fun to paint, and they're just so much character. The way that he approaches different types of player characters and different kinds of monsters are really well done. Also, they're cast in metal. It is fun to move around metal models on the table. It's fun to have that weight in your hand while you're painting. They're so beautiful. Also, I got into them because I just really like the models. Side bonus, the game Relic Blade is really fucking fun. So that's kind of you kind of get to justify your overspending of these things.
I had no idea that he essentially sculpts digitally, but with like the same processes you would with physical stuff.
Yeah, he said his purpose for that is that he simply can zoom in when he needs to make sure things are right, or tweak their positions and like how things all kind of work together so it feels like a real body that has weight and it has proportion. And that's the biggest thing is we see when models, they feel like, why do they feel like they're leaning backwards, or why do they feel like they're like their weight isn't done correctly, and it feels organic, and it allows him to make sure he has that organic feel. And I was like, that's brilliant. And
it makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah, it really does. And so I'm sure he's not the only one that does that, but I love his stuff, and he does that. Also, he's a fucking amazing, really, really wonderful human being that he's always so grateful. And when we see him at like Adepticon, he's got a little booth there. He's had a little booth there since first time I ever went. And he packs them. He gets the casts. He's got his own homemade packaging. He's just excited to talk about his game, and you see the painted miniatures that are painted by Malev there, and they're just gorgeous models, and it just makes you so excited. So yeah, he stands out to me as one of those niche kind of boutique style games that are also very affordable in terms of pricing too, for price per model, especially for metal models, that whole casting process. There's not as many companies that mass do that, so the price on those to produce are a little bit higher, but wants to keep that history of metal models as a part of the part of the game and the models that he creates.
Yeah. I think that's something you're going to probably notice about a lot of these companies, is that they are smaller, but they're all led by like small teams or just individuals that are like highly passionate about like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really cool. It's really cool to get to like share in that by buying their product. Essentially, you kind of get to I don't know, see how they see the hobby world through their models. And it's really cool to see that. Like, whereas like a company like GW doesn't have that same feeling because they can't, because they have streamlined it to the point where like teams of people can come in and sculpt in the style of GW that they've determined. But these are just like sole individuals, and like what they want goes into their models. You know, it's not like there's not like a list of like details they're trying to hit or like metrics they're trying to do. And so it's really cool to kind of see just like, I don't know, just like this raw talent, like unencumbered by like any kind of corporate anything. Which, you know, there's obviously good and bad to that. One, it doesn't scale very well, but two, you get to see these awesome individuals do what they do best.
Yeah, and that's not to poop on.
Oh no, I'm pooping.
The way GW does it. Honestly, I give them a ton of credit that their design philosophy and their visual language is so well established,
right,
that I can tell it's a Games Workshop model, even if you showed it to me in black and white or you showed me whatever. They really have an aesthetic that is consistent across all ranges, all games, all factions, and that's not easy to do. But you're right, it requires your sculptors, they have to be artists to be those sculptors to begin with, but you're asking them to do a lot of craftsman work.
Sure.
Because they are not creating they're creating their vision within the guidelines.
I mean, they're not even doing that. They're given a concept art and they're given a style and they're like, create this thing in our style.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wonder how much they can change the model. You know, like if they're given a concept, obviously they're not given a concept for like every single dude in a 10-man unit.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious how much actually is up to the sculptor's interpretation.
My guess, again, pulling this out of my ass, is that they have more flexibility in pose, because I think you could see it over the last like 5 years how much more dynamic poses we see in Games Workshop models. And to me, that kind of thing doesn't happen from the top down, that decision. That happens from an ability for creativity to be given root. And that would mean it would be happening at the designer level, where they're like, you know, they have to have this outfit, they have to have these symbols, they have to have these weapons, they have to be whatever. So where can I plant my passion in this project if so much I don't have control over? And where we see the evolution of really interesting dynamic poses and working with how the body is slight changes based on where weight is distributed, I think we see more of that, and that's as their sculpting team has grown and grown and grown over the years. That's where we can see that. I've got to believe that they don't bring their sheet to them with what they need to do, and it says one guy leaning back on one foot throwing grenade, one guy mid-charge with his bayonet forward, one guy. I got to believe that they don't do that. Maybe I'm wrong, but
well, we could ask someone.
Yeah, let's ask them. You know who you are is out there. Send us messages.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, yes. I just got done talking
Metal
about
King Studios.
Metal King Studios is the name of the studio, most well known for Relic Blade, is game. But yeah,
cool. All right, the last one that I have in my formal list is a company called Nuts Planet, which is from East Asia. I can't remember if they're Japanese or if they're Chinese.
Is it D's Nuts Planet or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got
D's Nuts. So one thing that has been becoming more and more important to me the longer I paint models is that I am painting models from a IP that I enjoy and love. Like I am painting less and less just like generic things. Well, maybe it's not necessarily true. I get a certain different kind of enjoyment and love out of the painting of the model when it's attached to Dune or Star Wars or Alien or Lord of the Rings or stuff like that. There's a different kind of enjoyment that I get from that. And so Nuts Planet kind of operates in this like ethical gray area where they're making characters from very popular movies and TV shows, but they're done in a generic enough way that it's not necessarily like
that they don't get sued.
They don't get sued, but it's very clearly Daenerys Targaryen, you know? So if you're that same kind of person as me, you love TV shows, you love movies, and you want to paint the characters from those movies, their bust line has so many great things to offer. So they have Daenerys, they have Sansa Stark, they have Tom Cruise acting as Klaus in the movie Valkyrie. I don't know if you know who Klaus is, but he's like one of the. There are several people that existed in Nazi Germany that were actively trying to stop Hitler from doing what he was doing.
Is that the guy with the eye patch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Klaus is one of them. Has that character. Mel Gibson as classic William Wallace. Heath Ledger from the movie Knight's Tale. Like, what the fuck?
Oh,
like,
sweet. I want that.
Right. The 2001 movie. Like, so it feels like whoever is making the choices.
Hello, it's called a lance.
Yeah, classic, bro. Whoever is making the choices at Nuts Planet clearly is a movie lover. There is Saladin from Kingdom of Heaven. You know, there's so many different fun movie characters in that line, and if you're like me at all, like it's a great place to find fun things to paint because it just adds a different excitement to the paint job. There's the excitement of trying out new things, whether it's a bust or a new technique, but also the excitement of you can watch the movie while you're painting. Think about the character while you're painting. The what kind of character it is can inform the choices of the paint job. So there's just so many. It's a different kind of enjoyment, and this company definitely kind of allows you to enjoy that. By the way, Nuts Planet, if you're watching this, please give me a Paul Atreides, give me a Fade Harkonnen, something.
Bro, maybe they can make us as characters in a certain movie. They can make it us, but like we get to, who would we be? Like it'd be like we need you to make. Like, I'm Deadpool, you're Wolverine. You know?
Okay.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
What would we
How do you feel about painting a model that's you? I feel like, how do you feel about it?
I have no idea. I have no frame of reference. I've never considered it until this very moment.
I can't imagine a more vain thing that I would do. Painting a fucking model of myself and making it worse, be making a video about it. You're never gonna catch me painting a model of myself unless I lose a bet or something like that.
Oh man, I mean, sure, I guess.
I don't want to make you feel guilty about doing that. There is nothing wrong with it, but to me, there's something that feels wrong about it.
Yeah, these are fairly serious too. Like I don't want to be serious. I want it to be ridiculously.
I mean, yeah, Wolverine, Deadpool. You can't make those guys serious. That'd be silly.
What is them? All right, so there's a succubus on here, and that's Morgan or Morgana from a video game.
Oh.
She is from. What's the name of? I gotta look it up real quick. But so there's some other stuff on here that is not just movies.
Maybe like video games or maybe Magic the Gathering cards.
Morgan. She is from the video game Darkstalkers. I was gonna say Darkstalkers, but I was like, oh, that can't be right because that's I was thinking Night Stalkers. That's a comic book.
Right.
But Darkstalkers, yes. So she's famous by Capcom. Debuted in 1994. Okay. Interesting. All right. I got a little sidetracked on that. But yeah, that's I like that. That's like if you like a thing. Because there's this whole side of like display statues and that kind of thing. It's like a big market, right? Where it's like you can get these fancy, like already painted and really cool, very expensive. Like this is the fucking knight. What's the dude from Guardians of the Galaxy? I don't know, Rocky Raccoon, and you can get a Gamora, and you can get there's. Have you seen those?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's a whole thing. But they these companies have the licensures for them.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. Like Weta Workshop makes those like really fancy things, and so it's like I would like more of that, where it's like, they have their own fancy, they have the license, but like let me paint it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's a way to connect with the normies too.
For a long time, I wanted to buy a very expensive statue that is already painted and then just repainted. Because,
fuck them, that's why.
Here's the thing. Okay, I know people that paint statues, they paint them differently than we paint miniatures. I've watched several videos to kind of get an idea about how they do it. And it's very focused on realism, lots of thin layers of paint. Like watching someone paint a face on a statue is so different than like how we paint
It's
faces.
all like washes and shit.
Yeah, lots of really thin, diluted layers of paint, flecking on like brown spots and then covering it over with more diluted like pinks and reds and stuff like that.
I think we watched the same videos. It's like comic book characters.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It's like doing Wolverine's face.
Something
and
like that, yeah.
Batman's face. Yeah, dude. I've seen those those too. And it's so interesting because they don't paint volumetrically.
No.
Because they're to a larger scale, they're painting it that, well, the lights in your room that show our volumes also show the volumes of the statue, so I don't have to paint them.
Yeah.
You're just creating color depth.
Yeah. But somewhere, there's a middle ground in there somewhere.
There
where
is.
You could do some volumetric shading and highlighting, and I do think it would look way better.
I do too.
And so this is just a classic ego in me where it's like, I can fucking do it. Will it take me 1,000,000 years to paint a 1/6 scale display model? Yes.
All right. You end up leaning back on that airbrush so hard that you're like, I'm not going to fucking worry about these volumes. I'm just going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
By volumes, I meant zenithal highlighting and shading.
Zenithal highlight and contrast paint.
Yeah. Oh my God. That would look very interesting.
Dude, that's what you do. You buy an $1,800 Weta Workshop statue and you fucking spray paint it white and contrast paint it.
Oh my God. That would upset some people.
Oh,
Is this
man.
supposed to be Willem Dafoe?
Yes.
Is Willem Dafoe in Apocalypse Now?
Yes.
I haven't seen Apocalypse Now.
It's either, no, I think it's in Platoon. It's
Oh,
Platoon.
okay. Or he's not in Full Metal Jacket, is he?
Maybe.
That movie fucking
There's a lot of those three specifically blur together for me for a lot of things.
Sure.
Of which one is it from? Full Metal Jacket is Charlie Sheen, right? Emilio Estevez. Fuck, I can't remember.
I know it's Kubrick. That's the director. That's
Yeah.
all I can remember. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now. I have it on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it yet.
You need to. Yeah, I feel like all of these are from some sort of movies, and I don't necessarily
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
know which ones they're from. But it's kind of fun to go through and figure it out.
Wait, speaking of Charlie Sheen, that's not Charlie Sheen, is it? The Grunt.
Yes, it is.
Is that Charlie?
Yeah, that's it.
What the
That's how we figured it out. We got
Oh my gosh.
we got some kind of might be Gimli, Timu Gimli over here.
Timu Gimli.
This is fun to just look through all these. Yeah, that's a good pick.
Thank you.
That is a good pick. Evelyn. I don't know who Evelyn is. She looks like a Warcraft character.
Oh,
Okay.
this is Benedict Cumberbatch in
Cumberbatch?
What?
What movie? British cavalry in World War One.
Is he in 1917?
I don't know if he is, but that's where I went to.
Right.
To World War One.
Or the
All Quiet on the Western Front. I just tooted during that silence.
Did you?
Yeah.
Great. That's definitely him though. I don't know what movie it is though. All right.
Is when you had in the notes here, it says Tom Cruise is Klaus in Valkyrie. Klaus is also spelled the same way as Claus is in Santa Claus, and I was trying to think like, was there like
was he Santa Claus?
Was there like a fuck? What was that movie with Tim Allen where the Santa Claus?
Oh.
I was like, was there like Santa Claus 4 where Tom Cruise played as the Santa Claus?
Fuck. Where he like becomes Santa Claus,
Yes.
right? Yeah. He like drinks some like peppermint milkshake and becomes Claus.
Yeah, that's actually that movie stands out as a holiday movie.
Oh, for
the
sure.
original one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that right there.
I'm all fire.
All right, my last one is my 3D printing selection, and I got a problem with I'll say most. A lot of 3D printing companies is about spitting out quantity and not about giving this unique take, unique artist take on something instead of trying to push out 100 of that thing each month. So my choice is a company I worked with many times over the years. Oh, look at that! I'm on their website. It's called Cobramode Miniatures. If you haven't heard of Cobramode, check out their website. Also, they're my mini factory store. I think actually when I checked yesterday, they had a sale going on, which is pretty impressive. But they make the just most fun stuff. They like to make like aminal things, right? So I call them Animorphs, but that's like a TV show from the 90s. But what do you call it when it's a human but it's an animal?
It's something with a P, right? It's like polymorphic or
Yeah.
it's something like that.
I don't know. I just call them werebeasts because they're kind of humans, they're kind of animals. If you ever wanted to paint like a platypus monk or my budgie pirate, I paint that little budgie pirate. You want all sorts of, you want weird squid people that are just living their lives, doing whatever fun things on the weekend. You can do that. You want a fucking toucan that works at Home Depot, you can do that. You want a samurai bunny, I painted one of those. I can tell you, it's fun. Paint the back or you'll get in trouble if you enter it in a painting competition.
Yes.
But the front of the bunny was way more fun to paint. There's so much whimsy. There's so much uniqueness to them. They don't feel, the biggest props that I can give them is you check out their stuff. It does not feel like they're 3D printed. They're sculpts for 3D printing. They feel like something that you would buy the physical resin model because there's character. There's the details on there are all with purpose and they all have been given attention and they're not overly detailed. They're just like, they lean on their understanding of anatomy, even though they're dealing with animals, which makes it an extra level of difficulty and uniqueness, that the different factions are inspired by different periods through history in different parts of the world. So a lot of research has been done as to why this certain animal in this faction is using this kind of weapon or why they're clothed that way, that kind of thing. It's like there is no expense spared, and you just do not see that for a company where you can spend a handful of bucks and get the 3D model online and then just print it off yourself to your heart's extent. And I give a lot of props. Again, most of these companies we talked about today are a single person or a partner, and this is a husband and wife combo that are just pleasant people to work with, and you can tell the passion that they have and the excitement when they would like share with me. They're like, oh my gosh, we're coming out with this. This was not something they wanted to do a video on. They didn't want to sponsor whatever. They're just excited. They just sent me an email and were excited to talk and wanted me to see something that they had come out with because they thought I would, think it was cool. And by and large, I do think it's cool.
Bro, look at that throwing star. Like how gigantic
I know.
it is.
Salamanders with throwing stars?
Dude, but it's like the size of him, though.
Can't you see that in like a video game? Right?
Yeah.
Like it just like feels like, oh, there is just something here where this giant throwing star and this cute salamander wearing his headband with his tongue out and he's going to flick that thing at you. It's going to cause 7 points of piercing damage. They're just so fun. It's a breath of fresh air. And, most times then I see the stuff that's put out and recycled in 3D printing companies. And there are others out there. And I want to take this moment to say in the comments, Goody Peepees, Goody Peepee Nation, let's create a list together. What are your favorite niche miniature companies? They could be 3D printed companies. They could be larger scale. They could be bust. They could be 32 mil. They could be attached to a game. They could just be for the love of the models, for whatever game you want to use them for, or just as for display. Put them down in the YouTube comments below. I know I will, and I assume Scott will as well. We're going to go through that list of your hot takes, your loves, and we're going to check them out because the more we can create a list of things that we love and other Goody Peepees can find those and they can check them out. If you wanted to start like a post on the Trapped Under Plastic Facebook group where we have this, if anyone wants to take ownership of that, and we can all post comments there so we have a permanent home, but also the YouTube comments is a great place because I found, we've found these, but we know that there are countless other ones out there that we love. Maybe we do a follow-up episode of like awesome paint companies that you told us about too.
I like that a lot, actually.
I know. We can go through and we can like look through them together and we can diagnose what we like about them.
I love Google Form,
Yeah, dude. Let's fucking Google it.
It's been a couple months that I made a form, so it's time. Yeah, I would love that.
All right, you have your what did you call them? Runners up, honorable mentions.
One honorable mention that I want to make, and it's because it was the first display model that I ever bought. And you kind of touched on this, but one thing that's severely lacking with Games Workshop is the packaging. You buy a box of models. The box looks pretty cool. It's got painted models on the front. It's got some concept art. And you open it, and it's a clear plastic bag of black bases, some sprues, and a black and white sheet for the assembly, and that is it. And one thing that's amazing about these companies is that a lot of them really, really give a shit about the whole consumer experience, which includes unboxing it. And so a long time ago, when I bought my first display model, when I was first discovering these small companies, I bought a model called Red Alabama from a company called PFWorks. And the PF stands for Pedro Fernandez, who's the sole sculptor for that range. And I was so moved by the unboxing experience that I filmed like a little ultra dramatic skit of me opening the model. And I've linked it down below as well. It's a super old Miniac video. It's got a little bit of that kind of cringe in it because it's old, but it was just like, I remember that moment because when I like got that model, I was like, dude, if I ever make models, like I want to have this exact same experience given to other people. And so I try to kind of like emulate what that experience was for me with Pedro's vampire model, Red Alabama, that I did end up painting and putting in crystal brush for other people because it was such a special thing. And now that I've bought a lot of display models, that the experience has kind of like, dulled a little bit. But it was so special when I had never experienced it before and only opened GW boxes of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, PFWorks, check them out.
It is. Yeah, he's just got all bangers too. He's like, oops, all bangers. I'm just going through his catalog, and it's just like, just so many unique and fun things. I would be surprised if there was any goody PP out there that looked through his catalog and didn't find at least one thing. They're like, ooh, that's cool. I'd like to paint that. Or at least I'd like to buy that and say I'm going to paint it and then never do. 'Cause none of us are guilty of that, right, Scott?
I don't know about you, but my closet of models is totally empty right now.
Wow, Red Alabama is sold out. They don't have it anymore.
GG.
Oh, yours is worth a lot. You should sell yours at the garage sale for $7.
$7?
Yeah, I'll give you 10 right now. 20. I'll give you $20 right now.
I will take 1,000.
No.
You got a fit check on these shoes, John? What is this? You coming in here with bowling shoes, and you coming in here with these bangers?
Yeah, I got the Air Force Ones.
Cream Air Force Ones, baby.
I bought these at the Rosedale Mall, son.
You're wearing them when it's raining outside? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. It wasn't raining when I left, and it's not raining when I got here. So I will control the weather just enough to where it's not raining when I'm walking outside.
Okay.
That's my ability, my superpower.
Okay.
I can control when it does or doesn't rain only in 2 minute segments.
Ah.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of like re-up it every 2 minutes?
Yeah, but it's a lot of energy. I have to eat like 4 granola bars every time I do it.
It takes a lot of mana. Okay.
Yeah, it takes a lot of manas.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I only have so many in my pool. That's it. That's all of ours. This is fun. I like this. I like yours too because I'm like, oh man, I bookmarked a couple of those. I'm like, I'm gonna go back later. I'm gonna buy me some more shit I don't need.
Yes, let us know what you like down and below. I'll make a little form for you to fill out so we can get a bunch of links. And then we can kind of go over them together in a future episode.
Yeah, let's create the grand list of all the best miniatures and where to get them.
Welcome to the end of the podcast. Raise your hand if you've got a third arm. Maybe raise that third arm.
If you were listening to the after party, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about eating resin. We're talking about mix-ins at Culver's. We're talking about Blue Raz, the best color.
And also about the hobby.
Yeah, a little bit. We did do some of that. We did do some of that too. But, this is fun. This is good. It was been 3 weeks since our last recording, and I feel like this is right back where we needed to be.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We had a fun time. We talked about all sorts of fun things. We talk about little miniatures. Our voice gets higher as we get to the end of the podcast.
Yeah, we get hungrier.
Dude, I'm so hungry. We're going to a roast beef sandwich place today.
It's like Arby's, but like fancy Arby's.
Yeah, like if Arby's was owned by like these two people that know how to actually do it well, and they take their time and they charge $14 for the sandwich. But you're willing to pay it because it's good.
It is good.
I'm gonna get the cheese curds again because I am a cheese curd slut.
Are you? A&W cheese curds though? That level?
Yes, I'd eat A&W cheese curds. I'd eat fucking gas station cheese curds. I've done it. They're not good, but I'm a sucker. They get me every time.
Let's outro this bish. If you like this show, God save you.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
God save you. But if you want to support us so that we can keep doing this, there are multiple ways to do that. As John mentioned earlier, you can check out our podcast. It's a great way to support us. You can also check out our merch store, linked down in the show notes or description below, where we have t-shirts, long sleeve tees, joggers, cups, all kinds of cool things with different versions of our logo on them. You can also give us a review wherever you're listening to podcasts, like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. All of those things indicate to the platform that you like this stuff and you want to be shown it more. We appreciate you interacting in that way.
Yes. We like you because you like. Don't worry, we'll have more next episode. Until then, catch you on the
flippity shit.